Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto runs away from the Hidden Leaf Village and becomes Ninja of Kumogakure Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for Part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Konoha no Sato. Konoha's resident Jinchuriki walked down the road to his home, hands stuffed in his pockets and a frown on his face. He had just been to the playground and gotten yelled at by adults for trying to play with a lonely pink-haired girl who usually got bullied. He vented his frustration by kicking an empty can aside as continued his way home. Naruto sighed tiredly as he neared his apartment building. Ah well, tomorrow's another day. Maybe I'll find a friend tomorrow. As his door came in sight, Naruto felt that something was wrong. The door was slightly ajar. Running up the last few steps and tripping in the process, he got to his door and opened it to find his residence completely trashed. The villagers had broken in again. Damn it! Naruto inspected the damage done as he clenched his fists and gritted his teeth, seething with anger. Why can't they just leave me alone? It's always me they decide to bully at the academy, it's always me the teachers blame, and it's always my fault when something bad is going on. Why me? The question was something he often pondered on. Why was he always the one to get abused in the orphanage school, and by every adult in the village? Though Naruto appeared to be stupid to the majority of people that knew him, he wasn't anything but. There had to be a reason why he was picked on, why he was the village pariah. The boy had racked his brains many times to figure out what it was he had done wrong, but soon enough he realized, whatever he was being blamed for, it wasn't his fault. It had to be someone else's, and the only people coming to mind were his parents. If his parents were to blame, then why did the Hokage tell him they were great people? It didn't add up. Naruto looked around his demolished apartment. The couch was ripped open, the kitchen was full with glass shards and spoiled food, and his bedroom was in the same horrible state as the rest. Graffiti adorned the walls, spelling out hurtful things. Naruto fell to his knees. He couldn't do this any longer. Not anymore. I can't stay here any longer, Naruto said out loud as though struck with an epiphany. Forget the villagers, all of them. Naruto stood up, determined to follow through with his next course of action, and opened the closet, took out a backpack and began to gather his things. 10 minutes later he was done. He packed the bag to the brim with essentials and a few things dear to him, like the ramen bowl he got from his Tuchi and Iam, the amiable ramen bar vendors. I'm sorry, Gigi, but I can't stay here any longer. I won't stay here any longer. This village can go to hell. I'm done with taking all of this. Naruto spotted his reflection in broken shards of glass and frowned. His clothes were too bright, meaning he would be easier to spot. Quickly he took off his beige shorts and green shirt, packed them and put on his only pair of black pants and sweater. The boy reached for his pair of goggles and froze. It felt weird taking the birthday gift with him, he had gotten them only a few weeks ago. No, they would remain in his apartment, and serve as an item for the third to remember him by. Time to go, Naruto, he resolved, strapping on his kunai and shuriken pouches given to him by the academy as he made his way to the door. Outskirts of Konoha. Naruto panted heavily, reiterating curses under his breath as he finally made a stop, just a mile or so out of Konoha. He felt a maelstrom of feelings going through him, anxiety, sadness, and euphoria all at the same time. He could barely believe he got out of Konoha without being spotted. I'm free! I actually did it! A ruffled sound startled him out of laughter, and into silence he could have sworn he heard something. Deciding he should better get a move on, the blonde grabbed his bag from the ground and began to run north. 2 hours passed and Naruto fell to his knees, exhausted. Panting heavily, he opened his bag and took out his water canteen and some food he packed up prior to leaving. He ate quickly and was about to roll out sheets and go to sleep when he heard something. Fear gripped him as he heard a voice, a deep voice that seemed unusually cheerful. Naruto drew two kunai from his pouches and crouched as he surreptitiously made his way to the source. He saw light. It was dim but there. Warmth crawled over his skin, and between the bushes he saw a black man making weird sounds and writing something down, sitting on a fallen tree with a fire before him. He was cooking up some fish. He took the time to look closer at the huge man. He was black, muscular with white blonde hair and mustache, several tattoos on his arms, and was dressed in shinobi garb. Most noticeably, he had an odd, one-shoulder-strap flak jacket, and the headband fastened to his forehead bore clouds. A Kumo ninja! Naruto's mind shouted. I better get out of here before dash. Yo, kiddo, want to come out? Naruto yelped and turned to make a run for it, but he was blocked by the imposing figure. Naruto cursed, closing his eyes, expecting some kind of physical punishment any moment. Open your eyes and be surprised. He opened his eyes to see the man smiling and offering a fish on a stick. Naruto slowly took it and followed him to the campsite. Naruto sat down on the ground and nibbled at his fish, still a little hungry. The name's Karabi, by the way. Now tell me, what's your name? Naruto's eyebrow twitched. The name is Uzumaki Naruto, he said after a moment. What are you doing out here, Karabi-san? I thought Kumo was neutral with Konoha. Aren't you trespassing? Karabi shrugged and threw the mauled fish aside. The treaty allows us to go on border patrols and missions, you see? The serious tone made Naruto see the man in a different way. He isn't as goofy as he makes himself out to be, just like me. So, are you going back to Kumo soon? Naruto asked between mouths full of fish. Karabi nodded, resuming his humming again whilst eating. Naruto emulated him and silently ate his fill, ignoring the question he was burning to ask. I'm not out to hurt your Hokage, yo! Karabi suddenly shouted. The Kumo shinobi laughed as Naruto jumped. Naruto cursed loudly at Karabi, flapping his arms screaming, What the hell is your problem? Only to be further annoyed by Karabi, whose laughter continued. Besides, the blonde said when he regained his bearings, it's not like you can take on Gigi. He's the most powerful ninja in Konoha. Karabi's laugh died down into a chuckle before stopping completely. I wouldn't underestimate me, yo! Karabi began to make those weird sounds again, taking out a notepad and a pencil before he began singing or whatever it was he was doing. Cause I dance like buttery fly and sting like a bee. I ain't to be underestimated cause I am the killer bee. Would you stop doing that? Naruto snapped at him, causing Karabi to once again roar in laughter as the young blonde yelled at him. Naruto was out of breath and dropped to the ground. Really, what's your problem? I ain't got a problem, yo! Karabi said with a chuckle. Naruto pulled at his hair in frustration. What the hell was wrong with this guy? He hadn't ever met such an eccentric person before. Then again, he hadn't really ever spoken to an adult. Being berated and yelled at didn't really count as a conversation. So, what are you doing out in the middle of nowhere, Naruto? Karabi asked after a while. Your parents must be. I don't have any parents, Naruto mumbled. I ran away from Konoha. Karabi gave Naruto a curious look and asked, Why? Why I'm an orphan, Naruto said half-jokingly. No, why did you run away from home? Naruto frowned, his expression contorting in anger. Because they can all die and go to hell. He yelled at Karabi. Those assholes always pick on me, always hit me and always blame me for everything. Wow. Calm down, kiddo, Karabi said. Why do they hate you, do you know that? Naruto shook his head. No, that's the worst part of it. How am I supposed to say I'm sorry if I don't know what I've done wrong? Gigi won't tell me either. He always tries to distract me with ramen or just mentions how great my parents were. Karabi rubbed his chin, adopting a sagely thinking position, and hazarded a guess. Maybe it's because you're an idiot? Hey! Karabi ignored the outburst, shaking his head in comical manner. No, that can't be it. Aha. Naruto looked up. What is it? You think you know why they hate me? It's because, Karabi said slowly, his tone was in a whisper and Naruto almost shook with suspense. You're a midget. What the hell is that for a lame-ass reason to hate someone? Besides, I'm 6 years old and quite average for my age. It was 20 minutes later and Karabi was still dodging projectiles. As he duly noted, the boy's aim was quite good and he took the time to seriously examine the boy. He had a hunch, but for that hunch to prove correct, he would have to anger the boy. No, he would have to really piss the kid off. I got it, Karabi said, snapping his finger. It must have been your parents. They probably were some idiots like you and messed up big time. Don't involve my parents into this, bastard. Jiji said they were great people. Really? Karabi said sarcastically, catching a kunai between his index and middle finger. Then how come they're dead if they were so great? I got it. You were such a disappointment, they killed themselves when you were born. Or they just pretended to be dead so they wouldn't have to have anything to do with their idiotic son. Shut up, Naruto said, tears starting to roll down his cheeks. Just shut up. Karabi took a mocking pose, waving his hand at him dismissively. Oh, come on. Just face it, yo. You're the kid mommy and daddy didn't want. Come on, face it. You're a failure. I said shut up. Karabi took a defensive stance instantly. Just as I thought, He's one of us. Naruto's eyes started to switch from blue to red rapidly before they settled on blue slit orbs. Come on, Karabi goaded. Take out your anger, son, show me what a worthless brat from Konoha can do. In a blink of an eye, the boy was in front of him with his arm cocked back and he slung his fist at him. Karabi held up his arms having anticipated the blow, but the deceptively powerful punch made him buckle slightly. Good, show me what you got, Uzumaki Naruto. Show me your gift. Karabi's eyes looked with those of the young blonde, which were flaring from blue to red with slits. Show me what a monster you can be, he said softly. Naruto's eyes turned into red slit orbs, his whisker marks became more defined and his fangs grew. Good, Uzumaki Naruto, Karabi said, don't turn away from it, don't struggle, don't fight it, embrace it. Naruto jumped back, landing in a crouched position. The blonde Jinchuriki growled, craving for blood to soothe his anger. What's happening to me? Naruto made a weak sound, tears began streaming down the child's face. Is this the reason? Is this why they hate me? Yes. That sounded far colder than it should have been. Far colder than any child should have heard, but it was necessary. The tears stopped, something in the boy snapped, and then, Naruto howled, no! Into the night, and bubbly chakra began to pour out of him, and took the shape of a fox. The Kumo shinobi looked down upon the boy with pity. But this had to be done, he told himself a dozen times, as the small boy's resistance to his tenant became smaller, and the Biju's effect became even more profound. Within minutes the boy in front of him was no more. The sweet and innocent child was replaced something that resembled a monster. Karabi dodged to the left, narrowly avoiding the chakra appendage thrown at him at surprising speed, charged lightning chakra through his right arm into his fist. Karabi charged at the younger Jinchuriki, swiftly ducking under another claw and sidestepping the small blasts coming from the boy's mouth. Raiken! The lightning fist slammed in the boy's stomach sent him flying in twirls through a tree and lodged into a boulder, but he quickly got loose and charged the shinobi, his deep wound healing already. Karabi ducked under a claw swipe, leaned back on his hands, standing on them as he propelled the boy into the air with two heavy boots in the stomach. The child landed on all fours and growled menacingly, looking Karabi in the eyes with nothing but craving for blood, for pain, for misery. The boy grew his second and third tails. It's time I finish this, Karabi said out loud, channeling chakra into his right hand. Don't hate me when you wake up, kiddo. With a burst of speed, Karabi took Naruto by surprise and held him up by the neck with his left hand, ignoring the singeing of his skin, and slammed his fingers into the boy's stomach. Gojo Fuin! The skin peeled off his hand as Karabi executed the jutsu. A blood-curdling scream was all that the boy could muster before his eyes rolled back as darkness took him. Konoha outskirts. Naruto woke up with a splitting headache, feeling as though he had slept under a boulder, since every muscle in his body hurt, and every tendon felt sprained. With great effort he got up to examine his surroundings. Yo, you're up, huh? Naruto jumped, looking up to see the same man from last night crouched on a tree branch above him with a net full of fish. Naruto glared at him. It's you, the blonde spat venomously. What do you want? Karabi ignored his contemptuous look and jumped down. Are you hungry? I caught some good old fishes. The shinobi had a stack of neatly cut logs on his back, bound by rope, and put them down, arranging the logs in a neat square, and gathered stones and leaves. Though he still disliked everything about the man, Naruto couldn't help but whisper awesome, as any 6-year-old would have, when Karabi ignited a fire by shooting lightning from the palm of his hand. Zap! No salt, but it's better than nothing, right? Karabi said cheerfully, handing the younger blonde a roasted fish on a stick. Naruto was too hungry to be refusing food and begrudgingly accepted the food. The Kumo shinobi finished his fish in 3 big bites and grabbed another one. I know you hate me right now, he said, swallowing a mouthful of fish, but I didn't mean anything I said last night. It had to be done. And I think you'll only become stronger more now that you know what you are. Then what am I? Naruto threw the rest of his fish aside with a furious look. You seem to know what I am, so why don't you tell me? Karabi lowered his fish. All right, I'll tell you. Naruto straightened up. You're a Jinchuriki. A what? You're what they refer to as power of human sacrifice. It's not very complicated. You hold a demon within you, Karabi said in a nonchalant manner, as though he was telling what the time was. Naruto stood up with an incredulous expression. Are you kidding me? Why the hell would you think that? How would you even know that? Because last night you snapped and you went Jinchuriki on my ass, that's how I know. Karabi ripped of a whole fish and swallowed it. You're like me. I'm a demon container too. You're lying. Kurabi laughed humorlessly. Oh, believe me, this isn't something I'd lie about. I still don't believe you, Naruto shouted. I'm not a demon and I don't believe you're either. You're just making fun of me again, aren't you? Fine, Kurabi stood up, dusting off his trousers. I'll prove it. Standing up straight, Naruto was suddenly reminded how damn tall Kurabi was and how intimidating his imposing figure was. Before the youngster knew what was going on, he felt his either body buckle under severe pressure. It was as if the gravity multiplied 100 times and the air thinned as he gasped to breathe. He barely managed to look up, and as he did so, he looked into Kurabi's eyes as the Hachibi Jinchuriki took off his shades and found him staring into silver-rimmed orbs of darkness. Kurabi had grown fangs and his hair became unruly in thick locks, loosening his bandana and headband. Believe me now? Kurabi said, his voice much deeper and menacing. This is what it is to be a Jinchuriki. This is what it is to be like me and you. As fast as it happened, it ceased. Kurabi's features instantly reverted to normal. Naruto's legs were still shaking. He still found it more difficult to breathe. WWH, what was that? He managed to gasp. I couldn't breathe. I'll show you, if you'll come with me to Kumo. I'll teach you how to use your powers to protect yourself. Naruto looked up, his lungs gradually taking up more air again. You'll show me how to control it? Yes. Kurabi left Naruto to his thoughts wordlessly, and allowed the boy to decide in the comfort of his own privacy. Kumo, huh? Naruto scratched his cheek, feeling a strange sensation in his stomach. Where he would go after escaping Konoha he hadn't planned so far ahead. The people in Kumo must be a lot different than those in Konoha. Kurabi is pretty open about being whatever it was he said he was, and if I'm one too, Naruto gritted his teeth. This one decision could and would change his life forever, and as much as he willed it to be, it wasn't easy. On one hand, he was still in somewhat disbelief he had actually left Konoha and he was dealing with the emotional transition, not that he was aware of it. On the other, he weighed the possible pros and the possible cons as to going to Kumo with the tall, scary man he had just met. I'll teach you how to use your powers to protect yourself. The words clearly rang in his mind, and only then did he notice how much Kurabi had emphasized on how he would teach Naruto to protect himself, not asking anything in return. The 6-year-old already knew his answer by the time Kurabi approached him once again. I accept. Weeks later, Kumogakure outskirts. This is awesome! Naruto shouted as he stood next to the giant Jonin Jinchuriki in a valley, looking up to an enormous mountain that reached the clouds. This is Kumo? Yeah, Kurabi adjusted his shades with an approving nod. The most beautiful view in the world is on the top of that mountain, nothing but clouds and endless stretches of land and sea, the sun during the day and the moon during the night. So, you're going to train me here? Naruto had a grin plastered to his face. It's so weird. Kurabi chuckled. Yeah, I guess it's a lot different your hometown, isn't it? The Jonin led the boy down the mountain and chuckled. They had traveled for a couple of weeks before they got here. On the way he had taught the child some chakra control manipulation. Even for a Jinchuriki the child had abnormally large reserves, twice the amount of many Chunin, and even some Jonin he was acquainted with. Just wait till you see MT Unreikyo, kiddo. It's where I usually live, though that's going to have to change now that you're going to live with me. Why do you have to move out because of me? You're going to be attending the academy, too, kid, the older Jinchuriki replied. You need to get to know kids your own age, this isn't Konoha. Naruto seemed haunted by bad memories for a moment but smiled and nodded excitedly. When do we start for real? This chakra control stuff you've been teaching me so far is cool and all, but I want to learn to use ninjutsu like you do, Kurabi. Naruto had an excited smile on his face typical of that of a 6-year-old. It brought a smile to Kurabi's face to know how happy the prospect of an actual shinobi education excited the youngster. I have to get you to my big bro first, he's the Raikage of Kumo, Kurabi said. Hop on, the climb is pretty long and the checkpoints are always crowded. I'll get us up in a second. Naruto climbed on Kurabi's back and held on tight to the cornrows sporting Jonin. Checkpoints? He asked him, wondering why a shinobi village would need checkpoints if they were settled up in the highest mountains he had seen. For the merchants and other folk that want to come to Kumo. They can't climb the mountains like a shinobi can, and even if they could, we wouldn't trust them since they could be agents working for other villages to sabotage us. That's why they need to check in before they get clearance for using the elevators up, Kurabi explained patiently. Sounds cool, Naruto said without truly processing the information as a 6-year-old would generally do when an adult explains something to them. Just hold on tight, Kurabi said, setting himself in a crouched position. This is going to be a dizzy ride. Naruto climbed onto the Jonin with practiced ease he had gained after weeks of traveling. Kurabi adjusted his shades and got to his feet and set off at blinding speed, racing towards the mountain. It took several hours to climb the mountain of Kumo. On the way up, Naruto found himself having a harder time breathing. According to Kurabi, it was because air got thinner the higher they climbed up. During the climb, Naruto could have sworn he saw other people than merchants and civilians, as if he was being watched. They're probably those weird guys that wear animal masks all the time. Nearly there, hold on extra tight cause I'm gonna fly. What? Naruto shouted over the bellowing mountain winds, thinking he hadn't heard Kurabi properly, but the man had already shot up the air like a bullet, roaring in laughter with his arms spread. Reiko Jasho! Naruto screamed with the sudden movement. Kurabi sped up so fast he couldn't see where they were going. He couldn't even distinguish the clouds and rocks. The tunnel vision was getting to him, and the lack of air was almost unbearable. He felt the world go dark when they broke through the clouds. It was a cold sensation, but a welcomed sensation nonetheless, considering his senses came back to him. Jutsu, Reiko Jasho, lightning climb! Naruto gasped and wretched as he emptied the contents of his stomach. He was grateful the climb was over and curled up into a ball, holding his stomach. The strain had even been placed on his stomach, and it nauseated him. Yeah, you'll have to get used to that, Kurabi said offhandedly, not perturbed in the slightest. He had experience to thank for that. The air up here is different though. It's just like down below. So, you're saying everyone vomits the first time they get here? Naruto asked, whipping his mouth with his shirt sleeve. Not necessarily. Civilians get supplied with oxygen tanks at the elevators. Most shinobi go through bodily stress while climbing. Their body has to constantly adjust to the pressure and oxygen in the air. Don't worry though, you'll get used to it. Kurabi glanced at his watch. Come on, bro's about to go on his break and he doesn't like to be disturbed during his breaks. Naruto nodded and ran after Kurabi, who had already started to make his way. Reikage Tower. I'm telling ya, just let me see Big Bro, he has to see this kid immediately. Kurabi argued with the Reikage Tower guards. One of the Chunin was giving him a particularly hard time, and was getting on his nerves. You're just going to get an ass kicking if you don't let me through, J.I. J.I., another black-skinned Kumo Chunin, shook his bald head. No can do, Kurabi-sama, the Reikage-sama is finishing up with the Ryusa clan head. Hey. Kurabi yanked J.I. a foot off the ground and threw the Chunin aside. Let's go, he said to Naruto, who stood behind him with a pleased grin. The other Chunin did not dare to attempt to get in their way, too intimidated to even think of crossing Kurabi. Kurabi wasn't known to be a man to use force to get to his destination, but if he did, it was best to just shut the hell up and pray he wasn't going to take his frustration out on you next. They climbed the long white marble steps of the Reikage Tower. Naruto looked back and looked in awe at the view below. The Reikage Tower was a beautiful building and was built on the highest part of the mountain village, thus it looked over the whole village. Kumo was much bigger than Naruto imagined. You coming? Snapping out of his daze, he caught up with Kurabi. The black Jinchuriki led them into the building, climbed 12 stairs, and they finally arrived. They heard raised voices and Kurabi sighed. My brother and the council don't get along, he explained. They'd been trying to remove him since the day he got the position as Reikage. That was 2 years ago. And let me tell you another thing. A voice boomed. Naruto presumed it was the Reikage. I am not going to give some arrogant dicks like you any more special treatment if I can help it. Land taxes stay the fucking same. Now get out of my fucking office, you fucking weasel. Another raised voice shouted in reply. We will see that in the council meeting then, Reikage-sama, but you shall not like the outcome. Yeah, go run to the other fools that haven't done a mission since fuck knows when. The Reikage shouted back. Go on, run home and have your clan elders bitch at you. Just when the duo reached the office, the doors flew open and an enraged man in fine silk robes stormed out. Naruto didn't get a chance to look at him. Kurabi! Why are you back so early? And the Reikage cut himself off, seeing the boy next Kurabi looking at the Reikage with a mixture of fear, awe and admiration. Who's this? The Reikage asked once more, but with a softer tone. What, no hello or a hugs? Kurabi grinned, entering the office and sitting down in front of the Reikage's desk with a laid-back posture. Naruto jumped on the chair next to his. This is Uzumaki Naruto. He's in. Aha, I know who this is, the Reikage cut off Kurabi. This is the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, right? Yeah, how did you know that? Kurabi asked. There's been rumors all over the place, the Reikage said, about an Uzumaki kid with the power of the nine-tailed fox. The Reikage trailed off, as though he meant to say more. For a moment the Reikage looked at Naruto as though he had met him before. Funny, Kurabi laughed, I never heard of that gossip. So, the Reikage said, cutting to the point, you want me to accept another troublemaker in the village? We got you and Yujito already. There are others? Naruto jumped up in his seat with an excited glint in his eyes. You mean more like me and Kurabi? Such disrespect, the Reikage grunted. But what can I expect if he's been under Kurabi's influence longer than a day? Bro, Kurabi ignored the blonde Jinchuriki. I want to train the boy to use his powers. No. Taken back by the abrupt answer, Kurabi looked at his brother and repeated, No? No, the Reikage firmly repeated. Why? Kurabi demanded, standing up and slamming his hands on his brother's desk. Why can't I teach the boy? He's a good kid and could also be a spy, his brother cut off. Why waste resources training our enemy? He ran away from home for reasons you should know and understand, Kurabi argued fiercely. He agreed to become a Kumo shinobi. He's agreed to be a protector of this village just like me and Yujito. The Reikage stared into his brother's eyes, shining with determination behind his shades. All right, he gave in, but he'll be on probation and under heavily guard. I won't be able to send him on any missions close to Konoha for a while in case they recognize him. That's fine, I'll teach him myself, and he isn't the ungrateful kind. He'll come to love this place, and he'll do everything he can to protect it. The Reikage sighed. You're putting your big brother in a rough place. The council is already looking to kick my ass out of the tower. Just stay out of trouble, the both of you. I promise nothing. Kurabi fist pumped. He turned around and grabbed Naruto by the collar of his shirt, yanked him off the seat, and dragged the child with him. As they left, Naruto clapped his hands together and made a respectful bow to Reikage, who just chuckled at the idiocy. 6 years later, Kumogakure Academy for Shinobi Arts. Naruto aged 13. Graduation Day. Naruto had been looking forward to this day ever since he was enrolled into the Kumogakure Academy for Shinobi Arts. This day would be a landmark in his career as a shinobi, and he couldn't be happier. In actual fact, Naruto could have graduated years ago. He was certainly skilled enough, but Kurabi never consented to the idea. Not even for a second did he consider allowing Naruto to miss out on connecting with his peers. The same went for the blonde's less than amiable counterpart, Yujito. Yujito was the Jinchuriki of the Nibi no Bakeniko, and she had been brought to Kumogakure a few months before Naruto. Naruto didn't know what her circumstances were, but from her disposition and Kurabi's implications, she had lost control of the Nibi as a child and had done something horrible. Yujito originally hailed from a small allied village from Kuni, Hot Spring Country, and that was all she had ever revealed to Naruto about her past. Though the two trained together under Kurabi most of the time, they certainly did not see eye to eye. Unlike Naruto, who was laid back and rather friendly, Yujito was an impassive, straight-by-the-book type of shinobi who believed strictly in following and upholding all shinobi codes and regulations, values she would almost always impose on Naruto whenever he acted out of line. For his part, Naruto believed Yujito to be arrogant and too bossy to get along with, hence why the two never became friends. That, and because Yujito was a prodigy by genius standards and excelled quicker than Naruto did, in all shinobi arts but one, taijutsu. Taijutsu was Naruto's pride and joy. He loved ninjutsu, pretty much any form of jutsu aside from genjutsu, but taijutsu was the single one art nobody his year could beat him in, aside from maybe Yujito. Naruto's skills in taijutsu had been cultivated and perfected from years of fighting Kurabi, one of Kumo's strongest shinobi, and the experience had helped. Sure, he broke a few bones here and there in process, but what he got in return was worth it. Kurabi had estimated he could be Jonin level in taijutsu if he kept it up, and Naruto had, always coming out on top in any physical confrontation class taught in the academy, hence why today during the Kenjutsu examination he could practically feel the apprehension of his classmates. Naruto was brought out of his musing by a nudge from fellow student, Sawada Tokushiji, a short of stature student he got along with rather fine. Trudging up a few steps, the next pair were called for their Kenjutsu examination. Next, Kobayashi Nobori vs. Saido Hari. Naruto cupped his mouth and shouted, "Kick his ass, Hari!" The next day, MT Unreikyo. Come on, show some backbone. Kurabi threw a punch meant for Naruto that crushed a tree easily instead, ripping through it like a hot knife through butter. The Jonin turned and went to grab the genin but missed. You can run, but can you fight? Naruto landed in a crouch, lodging 2 kunai blades in the earth to slow his skid. They'd been training for 2 hours straight with no breaks. He was near his limit. Shut up! Naruto shouted back, charging at the Jonin with his blades in front of him in a defensive hold. He jumped in the air, somersaulted and heel dropped Kurabi on the left shoulder. The Kumo Jonin didn't even flinch and delivered an open hand palm strike back. Naruto flew into a tree, cursing his teacher under his breath. What was that? Kurabi goaded, mockingly cupping his ear and feigning hearing problems. You hatin' on the master 'cause you're not a. The Jonin rubbed his chin momentarily before snapping his finger. You hatin' on the master 'cause you got sent flying and now your bitch ass be cryin'. That doesn't even make sense. I'm not even crying. Naruto shouted at him, throwing a dozen of kunai blades at Kurabi. You raps suck, just face it. Disgruntled, Kurabi smacked away the barrage of projectiles and held his fist up in an angry manner. What was that, boy? You want an ass whoopin' deluxe today? Ya midget! Bring it on! Student and master charged each other. Kurabi opened his arm, preparing to crush Naruto in one of his signature bear hugs, but Naruto slid through legs and pulled down the Jonin's pants, revealing white heartprint boxers. Naruto fished out his camera from his pouch and quickly took a few pictures of Kurabi with his pants down, ridiculously hopping about as he tried to stop him. You midget bastard! Kurabi shouted, give me that camera, right now! He roared, pulling up his trouser and chasing his student off the training grounds. These are going to be spread all over the village, Naruto shouted, speeding up. I'ma kill you, Uzumaki! Try to catch me first. Kurabi shouted profanities at the genin graduate, the little bastard's running to the village and I ain't allowed to use any techniques in there. That clever little punk. Naruto laughed hysterically, jumping from rooftop to rooftop, with an enraged Kurabi behind him. I'm going to cut you up, boy! Kurabi shouted, catching up with Naruto. Naruto laughed, that's if you're actually going to catch me. With a burst of speed, Kurabi jumped in front of him, his arms wide and tackled Naruto, pinning the blonde on a rooftop below. Haha! Not so funny now, huh? Naruto grinned, a twisted look on his face. Actually, this is so funny since you didn't notice me slip away. What? Poof! The Naruto he caught turned out to be a clone. Cursing, Kurabi launched himself of the rooftop, utilizing lightning chakra. Screw it. I'd rather have another lecture than being humiliated like this. A half a mile away, Naruto landed in front of the Reikage Tower and came to a stop, resting his hands on his knees. Muse must have lost him, he panted. Stupid Kurabi team. Brat. Naruto looked up to the sky to see Kurabi coming down, one of his 7 blades in his hands. Shit! Was all Naruto could say before he was crushed under his sensei's weight. A quick and brutal beating later, Naruto got to his feet and held his head. That hurt, Naruto complained, nursing the bump on his head. Now let that be a lesson, boy, Kurabi said. You can't defeat the undefeated, you can't outrun the lightning, and you definitely can't. Okay, I get it. Naruto cut off his sensei, earning himself another punch in the head. Why? Naruto rolled over the floor, fighting back the tears in corners of his eyes and gritted his teeth, cursing his sensei. You need to learn respect, boy. What's going on here? A loud voice demanded. Looking to their left, they saw the Reikage walk down the stairs of the Reikage Tower. The Reikage, or the bigger version of Kurabi team as Naruto had once put in, scowled at the pair, crossing his arms over his chest and shaking his head. It's you two jokers again. Yo, big bro, what's the dealio? Kurabi made some hand motions both Naruto and his elder brothers found embarrassing to watch. The Hachibi Jinchuriki continued undisturbed with his rhymes that were found in poor taste. Reikage-sama, Naruto said with comical tears, clinging on to the Reikage's leg. Save me. I said, what's going on here? The Reikage demanded once again, eyeballing his brother and shaking his leg to remove the blonde nuisance. What's all this ruckus about this time? He hit me, Naruto said, childishly pointing at Kurabi, who pointed back. He took a picture Ma draws. But he hit me. Ma draws, man. Ma draws. Enough! The Reikage shouted. Kurabi, there's a Jonin meeting in 20 minutes, go prepare yourself. This has to be third fucking time I reminded you. Aight. And stop using that ridiculous language, the Reikage added as his sibling took off. And you! The Reikage turned to Naruto, you blonde little nuisance motherfucker, get out of here or I'll find you some nice D-rank missions to do, got. Naruto had already taken off at the words D-rank. Stupid brat, giving me problems every day, the Reikage mumbled. What are you looking at? He shouted at a staring Chunin who immediately faced the other direction. Ugh, I need a drink. The idea of Naruto's undoubted revenge through pranks in the near future got another heavy sigh out of the Reikage, a strong drink. Naruto walked down the roads of the village with his hands in his pockets, grinning to himself. He had sent a clone with the camera footage to his apartment. By tomorrow, everyone would see them and have a good laugh at his sensei's expense. A little humiliation will teach him to mess with me. Yo, Naruto! Naruto turned around, recognizing his friend, and made his way to him. Yo, Hari! Saito Hari was a slim, 13-year-old genin much like Naruto and was Naruto's best friend, aside from Kurabi. Hari was wearing green-grayish cargo shorts, a black shirt and a black bandana that partly covered his left eye. He had spiky hair, wore his headband on his left bicep and white ninjutsu on his back, along with all other standard ninja equipment. Yo, what are you doing here? Naruto asked, stuffing his hands in his pockets as Hari caught up to him. Hari placed his hands behind his head, grinning. I just came back from the academy, we're on the same team. Oh yeah, we were supposed to pick up our team info today, huh? Naruto remembered. I forgot about that. Who else is our team? Yujuto, Hari said with a grimace. Great, Naruto said sarcastically. Why do we get here? She's so damn annoying. Our sensei? Hari grinned. Yatsuki Kurabi-sama. Naruto shrugged to hide his relief, though he had always expected to end up with Kurabi as his official sensei, considering he had been under his tutelage for over 6 years. That's good. It's Yujuto who's the problem. Hari nodded. I know, she is such an elitist. Always on about regulations, codes of conducts and rules. The pair continued their discussion as they walked down the road to their apartments. See ya, Hari said a few minutes later as he turned to go right. Naruto merely held up his hand and made his way to his apartment. Hadn't time gone by quick, he wondered. He could clearly remember the day he came to Kumogakure. He instantly fell in love with the village hidden amongst the clouds. It had been a weird feeling at first, to walk down the streets without being met with scorn or have something chucked at him, but he soon grew used to it and found people to bond with. After that, training had begun and he was enrolled into the Kumogakure Shinobi Academy. Outside of the basics he was taught in the academy, Kurabi taught him and Yujuto, much to Naruto's dismay, advanced shinobi techniques mostly in chakra control and taijutsu. Kurabi and Naruto's apartment. Naruto closed the door behind him and went to the living room, calling, "You home, Kurabi?" When he remembered the Jonin was at a meeting. He sighed, taking off his training clothes. The weighted clothes made his neck and shoulder ache sometimes. The blonde went for a quick shower and changed into a new set of clothes, a pair of black cargo shorts with orange trims, a black shinobi t-shirt and a black, sleeveless combat jacket with a lot of pockets. Naruto dropped himself on the couch, flicking on the TV and grinned. His favorite anime was on, and he didn't have a lot of time to watch it. And here I thought you were maturing a little bit, a feminine voice said from behind. Naruto shifted slightly to look at the open window, pulled an immature face, and turned his attention back to the TV. Perched on the windowsill was a beautiful blonde girl with blue eyes clad in light purple shinobi garb. She wore a tight shirt that left her tummy revealed, baggy shinobi pants and a white sash around her slim waist. What do you want, Yujuto? I came here to tell you. We're on the same team, I know, Naruto cut her off, making it abundantly clear he wasn't interested in speaking to her as he got and approached her. Anything else? Yujuto scoffed, so much for a civilized conversation. I only came here because the teachers at the academy said you didn't show up to get your team roster. How undisciplined. You're a Kumo shinobi now, you must be on time for all. See you later, Nico-chan, Naruto said, pushing her off the sill. Don't forget to never come back. Yujuto twisted in the air with impressive agility and landed on all fours the ground and glared up to Naruto, who lazily waved at her. Bye. He shouted once more before closing the window and returning to his TV program. Bitch, he mumbled to himself. When he thought about it, Naruto couldn't quite remember what had really set off their feud. Naruto and Yujuto had never really gotten along. Initially they had no problems, but it soon became clear Yujuto was a natural at being a Jinchuriki, unlike Naruto, who found it much more difficult to work with the Kyuubi. Though it was unfair to shove the blame on her, Yujuto had often made a point out of belittling Naruto over his failures, and the one time she suggested Kurabi find a new host, the implications had gotten Naruto so enraged it got violent, and the two had to be separated, and Yujuto now lived a few doors down. One thing was for sure, this wasn't going to be easy. 3 months later, Kumogakure Training Ground 11. Shinobi life turned out to be very different from what Naruto expected. It wasn't as exciting to be a genin as he had hoped it would be. The only missions they were authorized to do so far were mere D-rank missions that could be completed by even a first-year academy student. Naruto spent most of his time training with Hari to hone his skills for the day they finally got a C-rank mission. Currently the two were going at in an intense taijutsu match that had been going on for well over 30 minutes by now. This match was more intense than usual, for the stakes were higher today than they ever were before. Naruto jumped over Hari's palm strike and landed in a crouch, flooring his opponent with a kick behind the knees as he did so. Hari swore and rolled over the ground to dodge one Naruto's notoriously vicious heel drops and scrabbled to his feet, turning the moment on Naruto by bull-tackling him into the tree behind him and following up with a solid punch to the cheek. Naruto quickly got up and took his stance and danced around lightly as he spat out some blood. You know what happens if you lose, right? Yeah, Hari gulped almost fearfully with a sense of dread at the prospect of losing this fight. No way in hell am I going to pay off Kurabi-sensei's tab. That guy drinks sake by barrel. I'm not going to lose all the money I made with those shitty D-ranks either. Naruto charged Hari again and initiated a fierce hand-to-hand battle. The two traded powerful blows, and though Hari was strong, he simply couldn't keep up with Naruto's speed and agility, and soon found his legs kicked out from under him and a heel stopped inches away from his nose as Naruto stood over him victoriously with a grin. Damn it. Damn it. Hari counted the few leftover Rio bills in his near-empty wallet as they left the bar Kurabi usually frequented. You fight dirty, you know, right? I'm pretty that counts as cheating. Naruto rubbed a finger under his nose, grinning deviously. There's no such thing as cheating in the shinobi world, Hari. No such thing. Oh, so you do know a little bit of the shinobi world. Yujito appeared by them, landing in a crouched position on a rooftop close to the pair. And here I was thinking you couldn't be any more a failure of a shinobi. Naruto groaned, not bothering to turn back and look up. What the hell do you want, Yujito? I was sent by Kurabi-sensei to get you. We've got a mission. Meet us at the Reikage Tower in 15 minutes. Yujito promptly disappeared with a puff of smoke. Show off, Naruto and Hari said simultaneously. Reikage Tower. Your mission is to deliver the annual quota to the fisherman village Ritoro-haku, a staff chunin briefed the team. We have not received a reply from the mayor, and the messenger bird we sent nearly a month ago has failed to return. Your secondary objectives are to inspect the village and submit a report upon returning. This is a C-ranked mission, packed for a minimum of 7 days. Dismissed. Naruto shoved his hands in his pockets. I'll go get my stuff. Kurabi looked at the clock in the mission hall. Meet up at the southern elevators in 1 hour. If you're late, you're carrying all the bags. Instantly, his pupils took off to their homes to collect their equipment. Kurabi proceeded to climb a few stairs and entered his brother's office. And Ritoro-haku, Japanese for Little Ketch, is a small village in the Fisherman Islands, under the protection of Kumo, that is surrounded by rivers that lead to the sea. Much mystery surrounds this village and its neighboring islands. You cleared us for admission out of the village already? Kurabi asked his older brother as he took a seat, eyeing his brother for any signs of worry. The Reikage wouldn't openly admit it, but over the years he had developed a bond with Naruto, and could even go as far as saying he was like another younger brother or a nephew. Are you sure about this, big bro? Just go, the Reikage said, seemingly bothered by something. And hurry back, these kids need training for the upcoming chunin exams in Konoha. You're sending teams to Konoha? Kurabi turned once again with an eyebrow raised so high it was visible over his shades. Now that's surprising, bro. Are you sure it's cool considering Naruto's past? Yes, now get going. The Reikage barked, spinning his chair to look out of his window. You don't have to be frontin' on me, yo. Kurabi quickly ran out of the office, narrowly avoiding a desk lamp his older brother hurled at him. Younger brothers, the Reikage groaned out loud as he poured himself a drink, turning to the picture of a beautiful lady on his desk. If only I knew how you handled us, mother. Naruto looked sourly at Yujito as they stood on the descending elevator. Why did she have to be in my team again, he wondered. Yujito caught Naruto's stare and stared back impassively, as if to say, I don't care what you're thinking, you're below me anyway. Naruto looked away, not wanting to blink first. It was stupid to try to win a staring contest against a Jinchuriki with a cat demon in her. Despite feeling anxious about his first mission away from Kumo, he felt different somehow. As if he had grown 10 inches. Here he was, going out on a C-ranked mission with his team, leaving the village for the first time in 6 years. He was glad Kurabi was his sensei. He wouldn't have wanted to experience this for the first time without his closest friend. Naruto looked at his other best friend, Hari. The teen looked as anxious as he did, yet he had an eager expression on him. Naruto finally glanced back to Yujito, unsurprised to find her as impassive as ever without a single emotion on her dispassionate exterior. Naruto shook his head. What was wrong with this girl? He didn't expect her to be carrying her emotions on her sleeves, but what in the world had happened to her to make her so icy? How are you guys feeling about first C-ranked mission? Kurabi asked, adjusting his 7 swords as they continued to descend the enormous mountain upon which Kumogakure had been settled for years. The odds are we probably won't be facing any shinobi on the way there, but there's plenty of other scum out there. Naruto was anxious but confident. I feel fine, great even. It's the first time I've left Kumo in 6 years, but something tells me we're going to be alright. I feel the same way. Hari joined in. No low life will best me in combat, Yujito remarked, to which Kurabi shook his head. Don't presume bandits don't know jutsu. They may not know ninjutsu, which is the way we refer to it, but they can still be able to manipulate chakra and use their own techniques. Like the samurai in the north and the east, Kurabi explained, to which the team nodded. Half an hour later, they finally reached the main grounds. They had taken one of the shinobi elevators, and at the exit point there were a few dozen shinobi stationed at the registry counter. Have a good one, a chunin said as they walked past. Watch out though. We've had some reports of bandits being sighted a couple of miles from here. Those bastards are sneakier than shinobi if they have to be. 5 days later. Finally! Naruto shouted as they reached the outskirts of the village. The 2-day trip had seemed so much longer. What a dump! Naruto added as soon as he noticed the state the village was in. Hari nodded. I imagine this village to be quite wealthy. They are under the protection of Kumo, which should have scared away low lives and be good for business. Naruto placed his hands in his pockets. Whatever, I just hope they got a nice place we could stay. I can go for a nice, hot shower and a comfy bed. Maybe, Hari scratched his cheek, it isn't as bad as it looks, and I could really go for some real food. Kurabi adjusted his shades. They stood on a tall hill that looked down upon the village. Everything seemed normal from what he could see, but his gut told him something was wrong. Kiddies, stay alert. Something tells me that village has seen better days. You've never been here, sensei? Yujito asked. Kurabi shook his head. I never traveled this far to the south. But let's just check it out. As they got closer to the village, they noticed the horrible state it was in. The village had recently been raided. Houses were collapsed and still burning, bodies lay to the side of the road mangled, cut and dismembered, children were crying. The state of the once prosperous fisherman village was truly horrible. Stay behind me, Kurabi ordered, as they made their way through the packs of moaning villagers. Why did you arrive now and not when they were attacking us? A woman screamed, they killed my husband and sons. Are you all Kumo deems us to deserve? A bunch of snot-nosed kids? Another villager shouted with his fist waving in anger. Kurabi ignored their calls, as did Yujito and Hari, but Naruto had a far harder time coping with the anguished looks on their faces. He didn't know why, but seeing the villagers in such sorrow filled him with anger. He stopped to look at a woman on the ground, shielding her baby from the wind and feeding her child some of the edible things she could find. Naruto reached into his pouch and took out a handful of ration bars and crouched next to the woman and gave her the nutritious bars. The woman took them in shaking hands, saying in an even shakier voice, "Thank you. Take care of your kid," he said before catching up his team. This act of kindness did not go unseen by Yujito, who gave him a curious look when he caught up. What are you looking at? Naruto demanded rudely, catching her eye. Nothing, the female Jinchuriki replied. Naruto frowned, stuffing his fists in his pockets. He felt so angry and the urge to help these people was so great, he could barely fight off the desire to find the men who did this and punish them. Kurabi led them to the village hall, where he knew he would find the village leader. He pushed open the damaged and partly burned double doors. His team followed in silence. The city hall was full of heavily wounded men, women and children. Naruto felt sick. Are you Hattori-san? Kurabi asked, unusual respectful to an old man tending to the wounds of a softly crying child. Hattori merely nodded without looking up as his full attention was on treating his patient. Can you tell us what happened, Hattori-san? Hattori shook his head, prompting Kurabi's sigh. Is there a reason why you can't tell us? Hattori finally looked up, revealing his grimy white bearded face that bared many fresh scars. He can't speak, a teenage girl said, walking up to the team. They cut out his tongue because he didn't shut up. The purple-haired girl with brown eyes and smooth, yet grimy, skin scoffed. She must have been beautiful if she wasn't wearing a grimy red kimono that definitely had seen better days and didn't look like she hadn't had a shower in weeks. That's what you get for defying the Akumushoko. What did you say? Naruto asked angrily, grabbing the girl by the collar, despite the fact she was much at least 10 inches taller than him. Say that again. The girl just smirked at him. You going to hit me? Then do it, she goaded. Naruto didn't like her coy smile and resisted the urge to comply with her goading but let her go. That's enough, Imiko. A man dressed in remnants of the village militia uniform, who looked to be in his 40s, approached them. If you got enough time to mess around with the Kumo shinobi, you have enough time to look after the children. Fine, Imiko said, as Naruto let her go but still glared at her. I'll look after the crybabies. Don't take too much food with you, Kungo shouted after her before turning to the shinobi team. So, what's her story? Hari asked the man who introduced himself as Kungo. Imiko, he hesitated with an exasperated sigh, changed a lot. She used to be such a lively girl until her parents were murdered in the attack by the Akumu Shoko. So the Akumu Shoko were here after all, Kurabi said, rubbing his chin. That complicates things. They took all of our supplies and left. We barely have enough to feed the children. Some of us haven't eaten in days. The last time they were here was 2 weeks ago, when they killed all of our cattle. We didn't expect Kumo to send reinforcements so late, but I guess it's going to be okay now that you guys are here. Kurabi-sensei, are we ready to handle shinobi of that caliber? Yujito inquired, taking out her bingo book and showing a picture of the two. The older of the brothers was Seiichi, a handsome blonde with an impressive scar going vertically over his right eye. The younger brother was Shinji, also a handsome blonde-haired man with a smooth face. The brothers had identical black orbs for eyes and eerie smiles on their faces. These guys are out of your league, but I can handle them. I'll send word for reinforcements to be on safe side though, Kurabi said to Yujito before turning to Kungo. My pupils are tired. If you can point us a place where we could rest, we'd be quite grateful. Kungo nodded. Yes, of course, please follow. Should we wait for your last team member? Kungo asked as they turned around to find Naruto gone. Damn it, Hari cursed. Kurabi face-palmed. Oh boy. I'll go look for him, Yujito said. I'll bring him back here, sensei. Yeah, thanks. Naruto leaned against the wall, a frown on his face, his anger swirling in a violent vortex within his heart. The cries of the children shook his very soul. He had forgotten how cruel life could be, having hurried the memories deep within his mind. Come here, brat. Die, demon. Just die. Why did you have to live? Naruto shook his head. Someone caught his eye. It was Imiko, the girl who had lost her parents in the attack, according to Kungo. Naruto pushed himself off the wall and followed her, curious to where she was going and why she looked so suspicious. The way she walked, Naruto knew she was up to something. She kept looking behind her, and if it weren't for the fact Naruto could hide amongst the masses easy, she would have spotted him. She took a turn to left, entering an alley. Naruto stood still for a second but then decided to press onwards. He walked into the small alleyway. It was dark and he could barely see Imiko's silhouette. The raven-haired teen opened a door at the far end of the alley, apparently not noticing Naruto, and closed it carefully behind her. Naruto! A voice hissed behind him, causing him to jump and turn around with 2 blades in his hands. What? He hissed back at Yujito, sliding his kunai blades in his holster. Why are you following me? He whispered. Yujito raised an eyebrow at his jumpiness. I came to get you, fool, she explained. Kurabi-sensei and Hari are going to set up our camp and call in support. Yeah, well, I'll be there in a second. Naruto hissed in whispers, just get out of here. Yujito shook her head. I was told to bring you. Who's there? Imiko demanded, opening the door, only to find the alleyway abandoned. She looked around for a bit, and then closed the door behind her again. Yujito looked down and gave Naruto a questioning look. She had jumped, and he jumped after her, and they ended up with Naruto having his arms around her waist, and his cheek on her bare tummy. Naruto, realizing their position, quickly let go, and landed silently in a crouch. Yujito landed next to him. Lower your voice next time, Yujito told him. Naruto slapped his forehead and went to the door, and placed his ear on it. He could hear voices. Who was it, Imiko-nichin? He heard several young voices ask. No one, just a cat, I think. Imiko's voice said, now eat up your food. There might not be more for some time. Aren't you going to eat? A young girl's voice asked. No, I'm not hungry. Naruto stepped back. She was bringing those kids food and he doubted she was allowed to do it, with her attempt to silently disappear in the crowd of hungry villagers. The blonde swallowed thickly and looked to Yujito, who stared impassively back. Come here, she ordered him. He was not up for a debate, and closed into her, and she grabbed his hand as they shined away. Can't we do anything to help these people? Naruto pleaded with Kurabi. They're starving and they're sick and they're. I know that, Naruto, but we have to receive further instructions first. It was one of the rare occasions Kurabi was serious. We can't request emergency supplies without the agreement of the Raikage and the council, and that can take a while. Fine. Then I'll help these people my way. Naruto said angrily, he said, turning around and storming off. Don't do anything stupid! Kurabi shouted after him, but Naruto was already gone, prompting Kurabi to sigh. That kid is too attuned to misery. But perhaps it's only natural, considering what he's been through. Hari stood up and looked to Yujito. Let's keep an eye on him, in case he does something stupid. Yujito shook her head. No, you go, she spoke with her usual impassive tone. I will stay with Kurabi-sensei and do what is within my orders. Hari scowled at her. Suit yourself, he said, picking up his backpack and running off in the direction Naruto went. Yo, Hari greeted, landing in a crouched position, on a tree branch near Naruto, who had stripped to his boxers and summoned a dozen shadow clones. Hey, Naruto said, keeping his eyes on his clones, what are you doing here, Hari? I came to help you out, idiot, Hari said, jumping out of the tree and taking of his backpack, shirt, pouches and holsters. That's what friends are for, right? The teen said, ruffling his gravity-defying brown hair. Naruto turned to him with a grin. Yeah. So, why are we standing shirtless again? Hari asked. I'm assuming you've got a plan. You do have a plan, right? Naruto nodded. This river is full of fish, but it's been taken as those Akumu brothers' territory. They're too scared to come here and fish. Wait, Hari cut him off. You do know we can get killed, right? The Akumu Shoko aren't a joke, Naruto. They're psychopath killers. People are dying whether it's by their hand or not, Naruto countered fiercely. I'm going to catch a huge amount of fish in a couple of minutes, and if I'm lucky, we won't get caught. Whatever it is you're going to do, you're sure as hell not going to do it without me. We're teammates now. Naruto grinned and walked to the edge of the river, his clones standing behind him. He crouched and closed his eyes, channeling lightning chakra into his fingertips. He flinched, accidentally zapping himself, but pressed on. If Kurabi could literally do this while sleeping, he should at least be able to do this little trick while concentrating. Naruto grinned, finding his center of control with his cackling fingers and slowly placed it the water. His clones emulated him. The river water began to bubble, and slowly, as he increased the chakra output, more and more dead fish emerged. Naruto managed to do this for a minute, before giving in and losing control. The loss of control on lightning chakra backfired and sent him flying 5 feet back, lying on his bare back with a deep, singing wound on his chest. Zap! Naruto! Hari shouted, rushing over to his friend. He took a look at the blonde's wound and felt his stomach churn. The flesh had gone black-grayish, and the blood had nearly immediately dried up with the blast impact. Fuck! Hari cursed, hang in there, I'll get the food, those people need to eat. Naruto mumbled his eyes before passing out. Hari nodded, carefully placing the blonde down and rushing into the river with the other clones and collecting the fish. Across the river. Look at that! An overweight samurai said, looking through the binoculars in his hands. 2 kitties just fried the river. What are you on about? Another samurai asked. You've been hitting the sake early again, haven't you? No! The first protested, shoving the binoculars into his friend's hand. Take a look. With a scoff, the second bandit looked through the binoculars and gasped, nearly dropping it. The blonde one made clones and they're solid. I told you. We need to tell the boss. Of all the stupid things you did, Yujito began to lecture as Hari dragged in Naruto inside. Just let it go, alright? Hari cut her off, helping Naruto on the ground. Instead of lecturing us, how about you help us out? Yujito scowled. I'm not getting involved in this foolishness, she said before swiftly turning around, exiting the tent. You were right, Naruto, Hari said to his unconscious friend as he laid him out on his futon. She really is a bitch. They were lucky Kurabi wasn't around. He would have surely kicked their asses for messing with lightning chakra. Especially when they didn't have any prior experience with it. Naruto shivered. Hari quickly exited the tent and grabbed his injured friend's clothes. The clones had stacked up the fish in neat piles. Hari went back inside and dressed his teammate. To his surprise, the wound had already started to heal. Naruto's eyes snapped open and he took a deep breath, clutching his wound. Fuck! The blonde cursed repeatedly. It hurts. No shit! Hari said, his eyes wide open. How the hell are you up? You just electrocuted yourself with lightning. Naruto quickly looked at the wound and then Hari. Shit! Well? Hari asked. Well, what? Are you going to tell me how the hell you healed so fast? Naruto took on a serious expression. I'll tell you later, when we're not on a mission and I can fully explain it. Is it a jutsu? Hari asked, confused. Yeah, Naruto said, capitalizing on the open excuse. It's a secret healing jutsu I read up ages ago. It's really complex. I'll tell you how to do it when we're back in Kumo. Sure, Hari said with a strange look about him. Now that you're up again, we might as well distribute the fish, right? Yeah, the fish, Naruto said, putting on his t-shirt. Let's bring those to City Hall. We must have at least 3 per villager, maybe more. Hari smiled and followed Naruto outside of the tent and grabbed 2 stacks of fish in self-made nets of leaves. Alright, don't push, Naruto shouted as he gave another old lady smoked fish on a leaf. There's enough for everyone, alright? The pair had just brought the fish to the city hall and started cooking them when hungry villagers showed up. They had been dishing out fish for over 30 minutes now. Clones were running all over the place. EY, don't cut in line. You'll get your fish, Naruto shouted at a shameless bald man who had pushed aside a mother and her daughter. Here, he said to the mother and child, handing them 2 big fat salmons. Eat up and rest. It took the pair, even with Naruto's clones running around the place, nearly an hour to feed everyone at least 3 fishes. As this was going on in the town center, Yujito, who stood on a nearby rooftop, scoffed, turning around and disappeared with a swift shunshin. Man, I am beat, Naruto said, letting himself drop on the ground. Who knew there were that many villagers in this place? Hari nodded. We could try and remove the rocks in the river mouth tomorrow. We can fish all we want, but they need water too. Tomorrow, Naruto said, lying down with his arms spread. Who knew a fisherman had such a hard job? He said with a laugh. Kurabi suddenly appeared in front of the 2 by Shunshin. Yo, he greeted. Been busy, I see, he said, looking at the large remains of fire, sticks and fish bones. Where the hell were you all day? I was waiting for the messenger bird to come from Kumo, so I could send answer back about the current state of the village, Kurabi said. The Akumu Shoko were smarter than we though. They killed all messenger birds in this dump so they couldn't contact us. So, did you ask for assistance, Kurabi-sensei? Hari asked, getting up and dusting off his shorts. I can ask for emergency supplies when we get word back from the village, Kurabi said. Where's Yujito? You guys didn't get in a fight, did you? Humph, Naruto got up. She's not worth the effort. Is that so? Yujito said, appearing behind him. You've got quite the big mouth, Uzumaki. Naruto successfully resisted the urge to jump and turned around, giving her lazy eyes. Yujito just stared back impassively till Naruto had to blink and looked away. What are we to do now, Kurabi-sensei? Kurabi rubbed his chin. They should get some rest. These 2 look like they've just ran a marathon, but you and me can go on scout patrol. Yujito nodded and said, lead the way, sensei. Kurabi instantly disappeared with Yujito behind him. Show-offs, Naruto and Hari said simultaneously. Yujito jumped from tree branch to tree branch gratefully, catching up with Kurabi, who was humming beats to himself while writing something down on his notepad, not bothering to look in front of him. You know, the Jonin said, not looking up from his notepad, you should try to get more along with your teammates. Yujito scoffed, they will only hold me back. They are below my level. True, Kurabi said with indifference. At the moment, you're the strongest out of the 3. At the moment? Yujito questioned, making a large leap from a tree branch next to her sensei. What's that supposed to mean? What I said, Kurabi said evenly. At the moment, you're the strongest pupil of Team Kurabi. Why the emphasis on at the moment, Kurabi-sensei? Because that's what you are at the moment, Kurabi repeated. Annoyed, Yujito made an indignant sound and jumped in front of her sensei, taking the lead in the scouting mission whilst thinking, what must he be thinking? I'm superior to those 2 fools in every way. If only you would see your foolishness from perspective, Yujito, Kurabi thought, looking at his female student's back. You would see that being cold and indifferent will not shield you from your fears. Yujito suddenly stopped and held up her hand. Kurabi landed soundlessly next to her and looked down to her crouching form. She pointed to the east. There was a pack of samurai huddled in a group near the far end of the river they were scouting. They were arguing. The shinobi grabbed their binoculars and looked closely at the group. They could barely hear what they were saying, since they were a few hundred feet away. I'm telling you, I saw 2 kids frying up the river and collecting fish. A fat samurai with a black beard, hair, and scars over his face said. They've got to be Kumo. We have to tell the bosses. No, another insisted. Why would Kumo be here? No. I don't know why they're here, but it's probably because we've been stationed here for a damn month. This village is under Kumo's protection, right? Something about their river act. Another samurai had appeared behind him and swiftly decapitated the man. It was so fast Yujito could barely distinguish the silvery white glow of the blade. That fool should have known not to speak of our master's plans out loud. We may not be the only ones in this forest. The rest of the samurai took a step back in fear. Some of them quivered and looked to the samurai that killed the other. Saturo Taicho, one cried. What do you suppose we do? Yujito shifted to get a better look at the samurai. She blushed slightly. Saturo wore a pure white kimono with a black haori over it. He had snow-white hair and intense yellow eyes, smooth skin, and from his evil grin she could see he had sharp teeth, with his fangs being nearly as long as Naruto's. He had his katana stored in a black scabbard he had strapped to his back, with its hilt looming over his left hip, indicating him to be right-handed. He had several glaives holstered to his left leg and had the kanji for inner darkness in white lettering on his black haori. Ask Takashi, I have no time for this, Saturo said before disappearing in an instant. Takashi, who turned out to be the far less handsome other captain, wore a blood-red battle armor, similar to that of a traditional samurai, but it seemed to be of a lighter material. It was covered by black bears climbing over the torso, and a wide eye was painted on the helmet. He had a scarred, rough and tan skin, black eyes, a scar over his left eye, a lightly trimmed black beard, and 2 swords on his back. The swords were in blood-red scabbards, which also had bear prints on it. All right, get moving back to the camp. Shinji-sama ordered us to be back before dark and the sun is setting. The rest of the samurai nodded, and 2 grabbed the corpse of their fallen comrade and dragged him into the forest with them. Yujito turned to her sensei, who merely pocketed his binoculars and grabbed his notepad and pen again, saying, that was informative. Now let's get back to the camp. We need to discuss this. Yujito nodded and jumped after her teacher. Team Karabi campsite. Naruto's hand shook as he poked the fire with a stick. So these guys look pretty strong, huh? I've always wanted to meet samurai. Yujito scoffed as usual when he said something she found stupid. I doubt they'd like to talk to you. They keep to themselves and they despise shinobi for taking over their job markets. Who said we wanted to talk? Hari asked rhetorically, his onyx eyes shining in excitement and anxiety. We want to meet them so we can fight them. Karabi chuckled, ain't you two be frontin' like? Please, his students said simultaneously. Karabi pouted, puffing his cheeks and looking the other way childishly. Fine, he said, pulling a straight face. You can't afford to underestimate these guys. Stay away from the river for now. Who knows how powerful they are? If they work for the Akumushoko, they will know how to put up a good fight. Yujito got up and stalked off to her own tent, most likely to read up on more shinobi tactics and other literature. Karabi also stood up with a yawn, stretching his broad, muscular arms. You two get some sleep. I'll have some clones scout the areas and the village. I can't believe I've been away from Kumo for 5 days already. Naruto parted the entrance of his tent and laid down on his sleeping bag. It feels so weird, but I'm relieved at the same time. I hardly know anything about the world outside of Kumo. The blonde stifled a yawn. I hope these Akumu guys are as good as they are said to be. I wonder if I could take them with the Kyuubi's help. Naruto wondered and yawned once more before sleep took him. The following morning, the blonde woke up early. Light shimmered into his face through the open slit in his tent. Groaning, he got up and went to the river mouth nearby. He rubbed the sleep from his eyes, yawning once more, and stopped in his track. Yujito was going through taijutsu katas. It was evident she had been up and training for several hours. Naruto took the time to look at her. He was a teenager after all. He had admitted Yujito was beautiful, but that wasn't all that mattered to him. Her personality was unbearable as far as he was concerned, but despite himself, he couldn't help but be a little mesmerized by her. Even sweating and with a face full of concentration, she was quite the beauty. His eyes zoned in on her bare tummy and to her hips and then to her chest and eventually her face. What do you want, Uzumaki? Yujito questioned, going through a roundhouse kick kata slowly and flawlessly. Naruto snapped out his days embarrassed. Nothing, just getting something to drink. Do as you please. The words of Karabi still haunted her as Naruto turned walked away. At the moment, you're the strongest of the 3. I'll show you I will be the best student you will ever have, Karabi, whether you like it or not. Naruto walked for some time, berating himself for checking out the girl he despised so much. Hormones be damned. It must be the dehydration, Naruto thought, quickening his pace. He walked through a thick patch of forest, hearing a stream of water and a faint sound. What's that? Naruto surreptitiously made his way through a few bushes. The faint sound increasingly became more discernible. It was soothing. Pushing aside the last remains of bushes, he saw a sight that he knew he would remain for some years to come. Emiko had been bathing in a small river mouth. Her beauty had been done much shame the bulged clothes she wore. Naruto, having never seen a naked girl before, couldn't stop blushing. Emiko washes her ample, hid before by the damnable kimono. She was humming serenely, her purple hair silkily on her shoulders, shining in the morning sun. Naruto's eyes wandered down to her curvy figure, landing on the patch of hair between her legs. Blushing, he quickly pulled back and was about to turn, when he tripped and fell down, bumping his head loudly on a tree. Emiko, hearing this, jumped out of the river, slipped into her washed kimono, and withdrew a dagger from it. A furious blush struck across her face. "You pervert!" she screamed, seeing Naruto on the floor holding his head in pain. "How could you spy on a girl like that?" "And no!" Naruto shouted, stumbling over his words, "I wasn't spying on you. I'm not a pervert. I just came to get water when I tripped, and then this, and I'm sorry." The blonde got on his knees, bowing his head to her as continued to endlessly apologize. Emiko, flushed and the red tinge on her cheeks increased. "Whatever, as long as you didn't see anything, it's fine dash." She caught Naruto's guilty look. "You did. You were spying on me, you little pervert." Naruto jumped back, landing in a crouch. "No. I wasn't doing it on purpose. It just happened. I'm not a pervert, really," he shouted once more, his hands up in a defensive manner. "I'd never do that to you." Emiko's blush increased. She was obviously embarrassed. And who could blame her? A boy 3 years younger than her had seen her naked. Something no one had ever done. "Well, don't do it again. If you tell anyone about this, I'll kill you." The threat would never in her wildest dreams actually accumulate to anything, but Naruto went with it, not wanting to exacerbate her ire. "Why, yeah, sure," Naruto agreed easily. He was barely holding back on a nosebleed as it was. "Do you need anything?" he asked politely yet awkwardly. "Just go." "Okay," Naruto complied, turning around and making his way out of that patch of the forest. Naruto had a hard time getting his mind straight. He was getting his ass kicked by Hari at the moment. Hari ducked under his sloppy right hook and delivered a sharp roundhouse kick to the blonde's face, sending him stumbling and eventually forcing him to fall back. "What's up with you today?" Hari asked, quite annoyed at the lack of attention. "You're never this easy to beat." Naruto rambled absent-mindedly. "It's nothing. He's seen a girl naked for the first time in his life and he can't get it out of his perverted little mind," Yujito revealed, leaning against a tree nearby, reading a shinobi literature handbook. What?" Naruto demanded, the blush returning in full fury. Hari looked at his friend with a curious expression and then turned to Yujito. "Who?" Yujito pushed a page further. "That Emiko girl." "You were spying on me?" Naruto demanded angrily. "I knew you were a pain in the ass, but what's up with spying on your own teammates?" "For your information," Yujito said coldly, "I wasn't spying on you. She screamed when she spotted you and I obviously had to see what was going on in case we were under attack." "Sure." Naruto glared at her briefly and then turned to Hari and explained. "I was getting water and I accidentally walked in on her. I wasn't spying on her." Hari said vaguely, clearly not interested. "Where's Kurabi?" Naruto asked his friend, who snapped out his daydream. "Don't know, probably out scouting the area." "He's in the town center getting information out of villagers." Yujito pushed another page in her book. "He said he'd be back in a couple of hours." Naruto shrugged. "More time for sparring then, I guess." Kurabi sat on a rooftop in the village, looking down on his notepad. The villagers had been very cooperative. He had to thank his 2 male pupils for that. A good meal had done the village good, but they were still scared, and if he didn't blame them. The Akumu Shoko were looking for something in the area, according to his intel. Kungo, the town's news spokesman, had said there was a legend surrounding the great river of the Fisherman Islands. Kirai took one more glance at his notepad and read. "Many years ago, 2 great warriors hailing from equally powerful clans dueled to the death in the land that was once known as Sun Country before it was annexed by Lightning Country shortly after the Civil War. Toshiro no Shiroi, A battle monk of the north was the head of a clan of charitable monks skilled in ice techniques whom were accused of challenging the daimyo's power. The other legendary figure was Yamaken Kuma, a samurai of the east whose clan excelled in earth jutsu and sought the favor of the deity, Bumi the goddess of earth. When a civil war broke out, the daimyo hired the Yamaken clan in order to fight the rebels whom sided with Shiroi clan. Eventually, after years of fighting, the bloodshed and loss of life was too high, and thus Yamaken Kuma and Toshiro no Shiroi decided to end it all with one last duel. The victor's clan would remain and the loser would lose both his life, as would his clan be honor-bound to the country. The battle lasted 3 days and destroyed the landscape, revamping it completely. With Kuma's shiken the Kikoku Kazama, the land was carved with deep trenches, and these trenches were filled with ice with the power of Toshiro's Hiryu shiken. When the ice melted, the water further pushed and separated the lands and thus created the Fisherman Island. The battle left both warriors waning on the line of death. Kumo chose to meet his end in the river and took his beloved sword to the grave. Toshiro, whom had managed to extend his life another few days, returned to his home and told his clan to uproot and leave the country under the pretense he lost. Toshiro then wrote a letter to the elders of Kuma's clan and told them Kuma had lost their duel and his life in the process, thus they decided to uproot as well and leave. Upon his last day, Toshiro waded into the newly created river and allowed his body to sink to the depths of the river, as he took his blade with him, in respect to his fallen rival whom he had promised to continue to fight in the life hereafter. Due to the chakra residue left behind by the Shinken, fish found it easy to reproduce, and thus the populace gained incredible riches in their trade. To this day it is believed the Kikoku Kazama and Hiryu shiken still residue deep within the river. Quite the story, Karabi noted out loud. I wonder if that's what Akumu Shoko are after. The legendary swords of Toshiro no Shiroi and Yamaken Takeshi. Karabi pocketed the notepad in his pouch located on his right hip and shined away. TL. Hiryu shiken translates to Ice Dragon Fang and Kikoku Kazama translates to Kenyan Carver. So, you think there are some legendary swords in the river? Hari asked skeptically, to which Naruto and Yujito nodded. They were sitting around a campfire, each on a small log. It was late at night. How do we know they're telling the truth? Even if this legend is true, how do they know the other villages aren't located on the real island where the swords were left? Karabi rubbed his chin, scratching his goatee. You make a good point, but it would explain why this one village out of 10 is directly under Kumo's protection. The others are just as much a part of the country, but as far as we know they never had a direct relationship with our village. But what's to say those swords weren't dragged away by the water? Hari asked. They're here, Naruto said confidently. And how would you know that? Yujito challenged. What evidence do you have to support that statement? My gut's telling me they're here. Yujito gave him one of her patented scoffs. Oh, so your gut is telling you the swords are here? Then it must be true. The sarcasm was dripping from her voice. Naruto glared at her. I don't care whether you believe me or not, but look at the facts. What facts? Karabi asked. Those samurai guys are here and they're working for 2 renowned shinobi and they've been here for over a month. Don't you think that's got to mean something? Why else would they still be here if they had nothing to go on? Hari nodded in agreement. I think Naruto's onto something here. Of course you would think that, Yujito said coldly, to which Karabi frowned. What's that supposed to mean, me? Hari replied testily, glaring at the blonde Kunoichi. Unless you've got a better theory, I suggest you shut up and listen, instead of shooting down everything we say. Unless you'd like to waste my time more with fantasies and gut feelings, I'll go and train. With that, Yujito turned and walked away from the camp, hidden in thick patches of bushes, and made her way into the forest. She really is a pain in the ass, Naruto said, glaring at her retreating figure. I don't know what her problem is. Karabi stood up and yawned. I'm going to catch some sleep, you two go can scout, just don't go near the river. Got it, Naruto said, standing up. See you here in an hour? He asked Hari, who nodded and jumped after the blonde did, in a different direction. Yujito grunted, shaking her bleeding hand in pain. She had been punching the tree in front of her, to hone her taijutsu skills. In her frustration, she had thrown a sloppy bunch that broke her wrist. She looked down at her hand, the effects of the 2-tailed cat already taking effect. The splinters popped out, the blood dried and the skin tissue reconstructed itself. Freak, you'll never amount to anything. She shook her head. She swore out loud and crouched at the river bank and laid her right hand in the cool, soothing river water. She had ignored Karabi's prior order to not come close to the river, but at the moment she didn't care. This place soothed her. She felt at ease here, for a reason she could not explain, even if she wanted to. Take your demonic hell spawn of a daughter and get out. Yujito gasped in pain, having applied a heavy pressure on her wounded hand as she cleaned it from blood stains. What is happening to me? Why are these memories coming up? Get her. Kill the mother if you must. Yujito held her head in pain. Memories prior to her arrival at Kumo crashed into her mind unrelentingly like a tsunami. So you have chosen to die with your child, then so be it, Harumi. A horrible feminine scream. Yujito couldn't breathe. Did the scream come from her or was it her imagination? Street, stay away. What did you do to Ka-chan? A cold hand reaching out for her. A child's cry. An inhuman roar. The screams of hundreds. It has gone berserk. Take the children and run. Harumi's demon spawn has lost it. Run for your lives. A sudden touch. Yujito. Ah! Yujito screamed, twisting the hand on her shoulder and dropping whoever had touched her. She held the blade in her hand to Naruto's throat. Why you? She hissed in an accusing tone. What are you doing here? Naruto gulped, gently pushing the hand with a kunai in it from his throat. I heard some noises. I thought you were in trouble. What are you doing here? We're not allowed to be here. Yujito swallowed thickly, standing up and sliding the blade in her holster. Nothing, she said in her impassive tone. I'll be along in a moment, just give me a minute. Are you alright? Naruto, despite his dislike for her, couldn't just leave her like this. She was his teammate even if they didn't get along most of the team. Yujito looked into his concerned eyes, his blue hues softened with sincere concern for her well-being. I said I needed a moment, she snapped at him aggressively. Just leave me alone, I don't need an idiot around me to distract me. Naruto's features changed into that of an indignant annoyance. Fine, he snapped back, see if I care next time you're holding your head and screaming like someone's chopping off you. Yujito sharply slapped him across the face, her vibrant blue eyes flickering to blue flames with slits in them. Get out of here, she said coldly. Naruto said nothing and turned around and taking to the trees, leaving Yujito behind to mentally assure herself it was best that way. This burden is mine to bear. He has his own and I cannot allow him to handle mine too. Naruto held his stinging cheek, his face in a frown. He wasn't angry with her, he was just surprised. Why was she in so much pain? What happened to her that made her so cold, so dispassionate and impassive? I wonder what made her scream so loudly. Maybe Kurabi knows what happened to her. Hari jumped from tree to tree. He sensed something in front of him. It felt like several presences. He stopped on a tree branch and closed his eyes, concentrating on the sound of the environment. What is this sensation? Am I feeling these people's presence? I can sense something. Am I a sensory-type ninja? The genin wondered. I bet Kurabi-sensei knows more about this. Hari looked down from the branch and spotted some footprints. He jumped down from the tree and crouched to examine the prints. Heavy footprints, 8 different sets. They must be heavily armored and they went that way. Hari created a clone and took to the trees, jumping to the direction the prints were heading to. Meanwhile, his clone ran back to the camp to call Kurabi and his team. Naruto sat on a log by the fire, poking it with a stick he picked up. He was deep in thought, thinking about Yujito and the pain he had seen her in. A rustle called his attention, and he looked up to see Yujito. Her eyes were slightly puffy. He said nothing. I apologize for striking you, Yujito said with a monotone voice. I should have known better than attacking a member of my team in Kumogakure. If you wish to report me to the Shinobi Council, I will. Just cut that shit out, Naruto snapped at her. Why are you having such a hard time being normal? Why can't you just let go of those bullshit regulations and protocols? Yujito sat down on the log opposite of her blonde teammate and picked up a stick and began poking it into the fire too. They let the awkwardness pass by in silence, neither spoke a word. Naruto looked at the blonde girl staring into the fire. He swallowed his pride. You know. Naruto and Yujito jumped up. They heard someone running towards them. Hari appeared out of the bushes. He was cut, bruised, and had a long slash across his chest, which was bleeding. Hari! Naruto ran to his team member and caught him as he fell down. What are you doing? In trouble, the clone wheezed out, before he slowly turned cold and disappeared with a poof. Naruto looked to Yujito. Get Kurabi and followed my chakra signature, Naruto shouted, running into the direction Hari came from. 20 minutes earlier, Hari saw the group of samurai group. 4 were carrying nets with undistinguishable items in them and another 4 were walking to each side of the carriers, their hands on their hilts. He crouched, looking at them through his small binoculars he had hanging around his neck. They were all nervous, he noticed, as they walked into a clearing. The carriers were sweating, and Hari doubted it was because of the heavy load they had in the chest. They seemed quite capable in his mind. Hari jumped out of the tree with a chakra boost and landed in front of the band of samurais. "Hello there," he greeted with a cocky grin. "Mind if I ask what's in the inbox?" The guarding samurais quickly drew their blades and rushed at him. Hari drew 3 saban from his holster and threw them with deadly accuracy at the first attacker, who came in with his katana raised above his head for a decapitating stroke. He fell to the ground, his eyes rolling back. The spiky-haired genin ducked under a swipe of a katana and delivered a crushing right palm strike to another samurai's nose, instantly breaking it, and followed up with his left fist swung to the man's right cheek, sending him flying and landing in a heap, unconscious. The third samurai attempted a stab at his face, which Hari barely managed to dodge without more than horizontal a cut under his left eye. He paid the offender back and then some with an elbow in the eye and a jump knee to the face, which crushed the samurai's jaw and nose and knocked him out instantly. The last samurai charged with a battle cry, but it took only a punch to the face and a roundhouse kick to the side of his head to knock him out. Now that was so unnecessary, Hari took a relaxed stance. Any of going to do something stupid like that? The samurais shook their head and dropped the chest between them and ran away. Hari approached the chest to examine it when something in the back of his mind alerted him not to. Hari drew back just as the chest exploded, prompting Hari to go through a series of back flips and land in a sloppy crouch, digging his fingers into the ground to stop him from sliding back too far as smoke emanated from the chest. "What the?" A figure stepped out of the smoke. "Greetings," said the man in front of him. The newcomer seemed not a day over 30, dressed in a snow-white kimono and a black haori with the kanji for inner darkness embroidered on the back. Under the man's right eye was a kanji tattoo in blue ink, spelling out Ice Radical. He had a blade with a white hilt and a white scabbard strapped over his right shoulder. His skin was pale and smooth, and the man had eerily glowing, yellow slit eyes, and his face was set in a menacing grin, and he radiated killing intent and power. "My name is Satoru, and I am your messenger." "Messenger?" Hari repeated. Satoru looked him in the eyes, grinning as the world went quiet for Hari. All he could hear was his heart beating as Satoru mouthed the words, "Shikumi no Jutsu." Hari tried to move. He mentally screamed demands for his body to move as Satoru neared him slowly, his pale hand reaching for the hilt of his sword. It was as if he couldn't move, as if this was all just a dream, as if the man in front of him was not there. His sensory skills were suddenly dull. He was horrified, but he could barely move his fingers, let alone his arms and legs. Then it hit him. Graphic images of his own death flooded through his mind. His mutilated body, ripped to shreds. His arm cut off and his head decapitated. He gasped. He needed to breathe. Hari closed his eyes, shutting them tightly, and bit the inside of his cheek so hard the pain shocked him. To his surprise, he regained power of his right arm and with what little movement available to him reached for a kunai and stabbed himself in his tight. Hari regained control over his body not a second too late. Jutsu, Shikumi no Jutsu death viewing technique. Hari jumped to the sky the second Satoru had unsheathed his sword and slashed it horizontally, muttering arrow. The split-second jump wasn't good enough to completely avoid the technique. The tip of his right boot had been encased in ice, and it was spreading. He quickly took of the boot and threw it at Satoru, who merely sheathed his sword with a click, causing the boot encased in ice to burst into 1,000 pieces. "Formidable," Satoru said in his slick voice, his handsome features graced with a devilish smile. "I can tell you have great potential, such a shame let it go to waste." "Am I supposed to say thank you now?" Hari withdrew 3 saban in each hand. "I'll guess I'll have to disappoint you. Shinobi don't make time for pleasantries." "Yes," Satoru said in a reflective manner. "So uncivilized." Hari masked his panic with a confident grin. "What do you want from me? This was obviously a trap. You allowed me to sense your men so you could take me or someone else on my team out, didn't you?" Satoru shook his head. "Not really," he said evenly. "We were planning to lure one of you in, but we certainly did not allow you to sense our chakra. These men you fought are amongst the weakest men under my command. They have no talent in chakra manipulation. How you sense them, I do not know. Perhaps you are of those sensory-type shinobi." Aha. Hari didn't know what else to say. Perhaps he would have been happy if it weren't for the fact he had just walked into an enemy trap and his opponent seemed confident in being able to beat him rather easily. Hari swallowed thickly. "I hope my clone reached Karabi-sensei by now. I'm afraid I must end this little confrontation. After all, a message must be delivered on time and must be served swiftly." With an instant he disappeared and reappeared in front of Hari. The slash of silver was so fast Hari couldn't even see it. Looking down to his chest as Sudori sheathed his sword, he saw a deep gash on his chest and ice spreading from it. Hatsuguri. Hari couldn't breathe, he felt so cold. He quickly lost the power to struggle against the rapidly spreading ice as it completely encased him. Naruto jumped from tree branch to tree branch, channeling chakra to his legs to rocket him in the sky with each leap as he practically flew through the forest, barely able to see where he was going. Where is he? The frustrating confusion built up in his thoughts. As if someone read his mind, an enormous chakra signature that rivaled his own called out to him. There! Naruto leaped out of his tree, flying 30 feet in the air when he saw an ice block lying in a clearing. Hari! Naruto landed with a powerful skid on the ground and ran to his friend. No! He screamed, looking into the horrified face of his friend encased in ice. Hari! Hot tears streamed down his cheeks as he slammed his fist on the block of ice. No! Come on, Hari! The pain of losing his friend was so great he did not notice he was beating his right hand raw and bloody on the unbreakable block of ice. The broken knuckle could compare to the pain he felt in his heart. Hari! Ritor Haku! Hari! Naruto screamed, the hot tears streaming down his face. He looked into his friend's features, his horrible soundless scream on his. No! Naruto screamed, shaking his head and raising his fist. Hari, you can't die! He screamed, slamming down his fist on the block of ice. Its solidity did not falter. It did not budge. It remained an icy coffin for his friend. Naruto's eyes flickered red as his sense of dread heightened and continued slamming his fist into the block of ice. His knuckles split, but he couldn't care less. Naruto raised his fist again and again as he slammed it down. He didn't even notice blood streaming down his arm. Hari! Naruto screamed one more time, raising his broken fist. He was about to lower his fist to smash it into the block of ice when a warm hand grabbed his wrist and held it firmly. He looked back, seeing Yujito shaking her head. Kirabi was standing behind her, charging his hand with chakra. Stand back. Kirabi's eyes flashes from regular black to silver, and black behind his shades. Yujito gently, yet firmly dragged Naruto with her. Kirabi placed his right on the block of ice, applying and noted its solidity instantly. He then raised his arm and allowed it to engorge 10 times its original size, morphing into a humanoid tentacle-like limb and brought it down with a grunt. The ice block instantly shattered, profound cracking sounds, and lost its integrity, as it well apart instantly. Kirabi reverted his limb to its original size and form and retrieved Hari, whose skin was now blue and his shoulder was left partially locked in ice. Kirabi crouched and picked up his student. Naruto, pull yourself together, Hari is still alive. Get some water ready in the village, I'll be right behind you. Naruto snapped out of his shock daze, looking at Hari and then to his teacher. Go! Kirabi shouted at him. Go with him, Yujito. Yujito nodded and instantly took the trees, and Naruto snapped out of his daze as he followed her. Naruto was out of breath as he launched himself out of the last tree and landed with a tumble, running the last distance to the village center. Fortunately, Kungo the militia leader was present and was speaking to another concerned villager as Naruto reached him. Old man! Kungo turned around. Shinobi-san? What? No time for the formalities. Our teammate got hurt, and we need a place with a bath or something, anything you got where we can put a lot of water in. Kungo nodded, beckoning them to follow as he led them outside of the town hall and into the remains of the recreational area. There's a bathhouse at the end of the street. We all bathe there now, you can use it if you wish, but we have no means of heating water quickly. That's fine, thanks. Naruto pushed open the oak double door. Rolling up his sleeve, he began channeling chakra to his right hand, which had popped back its bones and sewn its broken skin tissue. Yujito pushed him aside. Don't get ahead of yourself, you have no affinity for lightning. I'll do this, she said, lightning instantly snapping to life in hands, cackling with disciplined control. Yujito narrowed her eyes, concentrating as much of chakra as she could control, and aimed at the pool of water and cupped her hands together as chakra aggregated around them. Raiton! Shurai no Jutsu! A thick bolt of lightning shot off Yujito's hands, pushing her back about 2 feet as it collided with the body of water and instantly heated it up. The blast was so hot, it turned most of the water into steam, but there was enough for Hari to lie down in. Good get, Kirabi-sensei. Yujito dropped to her knees, her legs having buckled under the draining effect. I can't move very well after using this attack. Got ya! Naruto nodded. There was time to envy her for her lightning jutsu later. He turned on his heel just as Karabi appeared in front of them. Good, you boiled up enough water, get out of the way, he ordered, and then proceeded to jump into the knee-level pool of boiling water where he gently laid down Hari's bluish figure. How long is this going to take? He is going to be alright, right? Karabi frowned, his attention fixed on the bubbles coming from the pool. I don't know. All we can do is hope he'll pull through. They waited for a minute in silence when the bubbles suddenly got bigger and more in number. Gasping, coughing and gasping for air, Hari emerged from the hot water, his skin somewhat scalded. He stumbled as he got to his feet with excruciating effort, his legs not being able to support his weight. Hari! Naruto jumped into the pool and grabbed onto Hari to drag him out of the boiling hot water. Hari was covered in boils and red spots, but they could worry about his minor injuries later. Karabi turned to Kungo. Get him a bed ready, please. Kungo hesitated for only a second, before turning around, shouting for them to follow him. Unknown. In a cavern deep underground, not far from Ritorohaku, Satoru came to a stop before a pair of large double doors made of heavy oak. He pushed the door open, entering a dark, open space. There were few torches that lighted the chamber. Some of the elite warriors he knew stood as silent sentinels, guarding each door of the chamber. The chamber was enormous. There was a platform in the middle, with 2 thrones, one significantly bigger than the other. A shadow was cast over the men that sat in their respective thrones. Satoru kneeled, bowing his head down in respect. Have you finished your assignment, Satoru? A deep, booming voice asked. The voice had a rough edge to it, as if it was a labored effort to speak. Have you sent a message to the Kumo team that came looking here? Yes, Seiichi-sama, Satoru nodded. I have killed one of Yatsuki Karabi's pupils. I suspect this will have the desired effect you wished. Good, said Seiichi, the elder brother. What of you, Takizo? Satoru glanced to his left, where Takizo emerged from the ground. The traditional samurai armor-clad warrior made a respectful bow and knelt as well. My masters, all things are going as planned. Regretfully, we had to silence one of our own who had discovered the presence of Kumo shinobi. Who was he? Shinji demanded, his labored voice booming and demanding. One of the useless ones, he was incapable of molding chakra. Tai was his name, I believe. Such inferior beings are not worth the trouble, Seiichi said dismissively. What of the submarines? The submarines have arrived. Kuri's navy will suspect it was one of the smaller hidden villages. Takizo informed, our forces have hid any sign of our presence. Ooh, a much higher, friendlier and lighter voice spoke. Aren't you quite the asset, Takizo? Your praise honors me, Shinji-sama. Takizo inclined his head once more. My men are currently conducting searches in all rivers of the Fisherman Islands. You will have the legendary blades you desire, my masters. It is only a matter of time now. Good, Seiichi's tone was approving. Now leave us, both of you. I must retire. Satoru and Takizo bowed their heads once more and stood up. Takizo looked at Satoru with a cocky smile as he submerged into the earth beneath him. Satoru paid it no heed and turned on his heels as he exited the chamber. Ritorohaku. How is he? Naruto asked the village doctor, staring down upon his teammate Hari, who was laid down on a bed, extra blankets over his to keep him warm. His lips, fingers and toes still were slightly bluish and his skin was pale. His condition is serious, but he is a strong one. He will pull through this one, but it's his shoulder that concerns me. What about his shoulder? Karabi asked the doctor, towering over him by at least 3 feet. Well, the old doctor grabbed his beard, it seems he's got a case of frostbite on his shoulder. It may take weeks of rehabilitation to get it better. Karabi nodded. Thank you, doctor, he said to the small man nodded in return as he packed up his supplies and left, closing the door to Kungo's shabby house. What do we do now? Yujuto asked, sitting on a chair. We can't hope to best these men in battle. A mere lieutenant did this to Hari and he was apparently not having a hard time. There were no signs of battle other than the ice encased tree we found, only a few footprints as if he didn't even try. Naruto glared at her, instantly turning around. Shut up, he said angrily. Look at him, how can you say he didn't try? Yujuto knew now wasn't the time to argue with her teammate. I'm not saying he did not try. What I am saying is that he fought a powerful opponent who made it look like he didn't try. She then looked at Karabi. You know we're out of our league here, sensei. You may be able to take them on separately, but not with us there. And no. The team instantly looked down to Hari's figure, his eyes were half open. No, Hari repeated, croaking in thirst. Naruto grabbed a glass of water and helped his friend drink. It's alright. We know you tried your best, Hari. No! Hari slapped the glass away, sending it smashing against the wall as he sat up. The quick movement took a lot out of him, as he began coughing again. I can know his weakness, he said in his raspy voice. What? Kurabi asked. What weakness? Satoru's weakness, Hari said, accepting a second glass of water and emptying it in his mouth instantly. Is that his name? Yujito asked. Satoru? How? Kurabi asked, what weakness? Naruto helped Hari lie down. Hari managed to grin weakly. I think I'm a sensory type of ninja, Hari said. I was able to track them down by sensing their chakra about 5 miles away. Naruto looked at Kurabi. Aren't you a sensory type too, Kurabi-sensei? Kurabi nodded, but it took me a lot longer to notice I was. I was 17 when I found out I had the ability. Yujito looked at Hari. So what is this weakness? She asked. How did you see it? Hari coughed painfully. I sensed a different chakra in his scabbard when I fought him. The brown-haired genin grinned at his team. He needs at least 3 seconds to charge his sword with chakra. When he unsheathes it, he needs to aim at his targets. He does it really fast, even though he was playing with me, so maybe he can only manage controlling it on the of his sword for a small period of time. His ice jutsu are more defensive than offensive, but once you're hit, the ice will spread. Hari coughed. Once you're hit, the ice will spread quickly. That, Kurabi said, is a most impressive deduction from meeting him only one time. You'll go far in this world, Hari, Kurabi complimented his student. Naruto patted him the chest. Get some rest, we'll handle the rest. You better, Hari said, a weak smile on his face before his eyes closed, and fell asleep instantly. Where we going, sensei? Naruto asked as he jumped after his teacher from tree branch to tree branch, Yujito right behind him, wondering the same. We need to prepare ourselves for them. I can take them, but you can't, and they know that. I'm going to train you what I can in this small period of time, Kurabi explained. Yujito, you have shown extreme prowess in lightning techniques. I have on that'll come in handy. Yujito nodded, hiding her excitement. What about me? Naruto asked. What affinity do I have? That's what we're going to find out, Kurabi said, jumping out of the tree and landing at their camp. He reached into pouch and withdrew 2 small, squared sheets of white paper. These papers can determine your elemental chakra affinity. Over time you will unlock more with training. Most shinobi start with this training when they achieve the Chunin rank. In our village, you must have a minimum of 2 elemental chakras to attain Jonin rank. Naruto nodded, soaking up the information. So, I'll only have 1 affinity at the start? Depends, Yujito answered before Kurabi could. Most have 1 elemental affinity, but some start out with 2. It's just a matter of experience and character. It takes disciplined control to control lightning, endurance for earth, rage for fire, intelligence for water, and it takes determination for wind, or so they say. Correct, Kurabi said. It is impossible for a weak-minded person to control lightning as it is for a weak-willed person to control wind. So, what do you think I got? Naruto asked, taking his sheet of paper. I'm thinking I got wind. So do I. You're very proficient with wind techniques, but let's find out. Channel a little amount of chakra into your fingertips, the paper will soak it up. Naruto nodded and closed his eyes, channeling chakra into his hand and fingertips. He felt a small friction, and opening his eyes, he saw the sheet of paper split in 2. So we were both right, Kurabi grinned, ruffling his student's hair. Wind is extremely rare, outside of Sunagakure. Naruto grinned, pleased with himself. So you're going to teach me a wind jutsu? I only know a handful of them, and they're not even that strong. I prepared a scroll for this. I knew I would need them. I'll give them to you after this, Kurabi said, turning to Yujito, who held up her cracked paper. Lightning, just as I expected. I'll train you personally. I've got some techniques you'd love. Naruto resisted the urge to glare at Yujito, knowing their lives might be at stake and he needed to be ready. I'll go to clearing a mile back to train, then. Good, Kurabi said, reaching into his pouch and taking out of a scroll from which he unsealed a thicker scroll and handed it to Naruto. I was going to give this to you for your birthday, to be honest, he said with a grin. Naruto grinned back. Then I guess you'll just have to buy me a sword after all, he said before turning around and taking to the trees. Okay, Kurabi said, turning to Yujito. You showed me your Shurai technique in Kumo, and though it was a good technique to have, I told you something. Do you remember what I said? You said that creating my own technique was fine, but I shouldn't use it unless it was fully completed, Yujito said, And you said that it was a technique that left me open after use, so I had to be careful when using it. Exactly, which is why I am going to teach you one of the lightning-based assassination techniques I know. Yujito grinned at Kurabi, who instantly grinned back, glad Yujito could express herself when it came to new techniques. 12 hours later, Naruto fell back on his behind, breathing heavily. He was tired, couldn't go on anymore. He looked down to the first technique on his scroll. Futon. Akai Genshuku no Jutsu. The crushing gravity technique, developed by the monks of the desert, who specialized in wind-based techniques. The technique requires one to clench one's hand to form a hand, channel chakra to it, and perform a palm strike and releasing the built-up chakra. Naruto put down the scroll and got up. Having regained his breath, one more time, he thought to himself, channeling chakra to his right fist, holding his left in front of him to aim on the tree. Futon. Akai Genshuku. No jutsu. He palm trusted in front of him. A blast of wind created another fist-sized hole in the thick tree, but didn't puncture it. Damn it! Naruto said, falling on behind. Why won't this work? Jutsu, Futon. Akai Genshuku no Jutsu, crushing gravity. A rustle in the leaves caught his attention. He instantly jumped up, but calmed down. It was Imiko. She had dropped by a couple of hours earlier. You're still at it? She asked, crossing her arms, resisting the urge to shiver. She had pulled on a cloak, but was still cold. It's pointless, you know. What's pointless? Naruto asked, pretending not to know what she was talking about. You coming here to try and interrupt my training, or you just trying to discourage me? Neither will work. Imiko glared at him. Why bother? You can't win against the... If you're done, I'd like to get back to my training. Naruto cut her off, taking his stance once more. Imiko scoffed and turned around, and just as she was about to leave the clearing and enter the forest, Naruto said, When I beat them, Imiko, I expect to thank you. Imiko turned around, looking into his blue eyes shining with determination, a cheesy grin on his face. What? She asked. I want to thank you when we defeat them, Naruto repeated, his eyes still shining crazily, and I expect you to be sincere. Whatever, Imiko said, turning around and walking away, a blush on her face and a weird feeling in her stomach. Futon. Akai Genshuku. No jutsu, Naruto shouted, palm thrusting at the tree, releasing his chakra. This time, the blast caught him off guard, slinging him to the ground as a much bigger pocket of air crushed into the tree and easily went through it. Yeah! Naruto cheered, pumping his fist. I did it! Imiko stood behind a tree, her eyes wide in surprise, the blush still on her face and the weird feeling in her stomach growing, as she watched Naruto jump around, shouting, I did it! Over and over. Naruto dropped to the ground, laughing, a big grin on his face. Again, Kurabi ordered. Concentrate more on letting the chakra jump out when piercing this time. Yujito nodded, holding out her right hand, grabbing her wrist with her left, coating both hands with chakra and shout, Right on. Raiken! Lightning sprang to life on her right hand, enveloping it completely. Yujito charged at tree in front of her, dragging her lightning fist with, cocked back her arm and smashed her fist into the tree. The giant oak instantly shattered from the inside as Yujito withdrew her hand and jumped back, the lightning dying down. The tree caught aflame, turning charcoal black. Yujito grinned. I like this technique. Kurabi laughed. Well, check it. My name be Kurabi. I'm the greatest y'all ever seen. He stopped, taking out his notepad and pen and began scribbling something, saying good stuff to himself. He cleared his throat and began his obnoxious beatboxing. Well, check it. My name is Kurabi. I'm the greatest shinobi y'all ever see. It's 'cause I am the killer bee. He finished his rap with howl and looked down to find Yujito gone and puncturing another tree with a lightning fist. Hey! I've gotten an idea for a new technique, Yujito said, turning around and ignoring his childish pout. What if I expel the chakra out of my hand, harden it in a shell and only use chakra protect the palm of my hand? That'll cut down on the chakra taxation, and if I can learn to throw it, that'll cut down the risk. Aha! Kurabi understanding, his fist on his palm, I see. You want to copy Hatake Kakashi from Konoha, don't you? Yujito looked the other way, embarrassed her teacher saw through it so fast. His lightning techniques are quite exceptional, she said. Yeah, Kurabi said, scratching his cornrows, but I heard he's really ugly beneath the mask. Yujito's sweat dropped. Is he even listening? Naruto doubled over and vomited. Chakra exhaustion was getting to him. He shook his head. One more time, he told himself, getting up and whipping his mouth with the sleeve of his shirt. Futon, Ak! Imiko ran to Naruto as he coughed blood and fell over, catching him and holding him to her chest. Naruto groaned, tiredly. I need to try it one last time. Can't you wait till morning, when you're all rested up? Emiko asked. Besides, you already mastered one technique. No, Naruto said, I have to save this village, and he fell unconscious. Emiko held the blonde to her chest, letting him rest as she hummed the song her mother used to sing to her as a child. I can't believe it, she thought, he's willing to go so far for us. She blushed as Naruto's arms circled around her waist and pulled her closer, hugging her, as he buried his face deeper into her chest. Emiko raised her fist and bonked him on the head, mumbling, pervert. She continued her humming, running a hand through the blonde's hair. The following day Naruto woke up in the clearing, his head resting on something soft. He reached to see what it was. His hand cupped around something soft yet firm and round. He squeezed, a feminine moan followed. His eyes snapped open, he saw something red draped over him and quickly determined it to be a red cloth. He squeezed his right hand once more. Another moan, this time more erotic. He pulled back his head, his mouth dropped. He was groping a sleeping Emiko's. Naruto mentally screamed and jumped back, looking at his right hand as if it was infected. A furious blush appeared on his face. He looked down at his hand and then at her. An idea came to his head which increased his blush. He made his way to Emiko, grabbed the cloak and draped it over her, and said thank you. The blonde genin turned around and made his way into the forest. It took him about 5 minutes to find another clearing where he could practice his new technique. He found another sturdy tree and cocked back his right fist. Futon! Akai Genshuku no Jutsu! He shouted, thrusting his palm towards the tree. An invisible gush of air crushed into the tree, ripping it clean in two. Still got it, he said with a grin as the tree fell down next to him, and he sat on it. He pulled out his scroll again, looking at the second technique on the list. Futon Daitapa no Jutsu. Futon Daitapa is a ninjutsu technique that utilizes the wind element. After bringing his or her hand to his mouth, the user will blow a large blast of wind capable of leveling almost anything in its way. A variation of the technique involves a smaller blast of wind which gets ignited with flame. This variation can be used in demolition and sabotage situations. Type offensive. Rank C. Naruto laid down scroll and went through the hand seals shown in the scroll. Futon Daitapa? He shouted, channeling chakra to his lungs as he inhaled air and exhaled it, blowing it over his palm. He managed to get small wind that kicked up the dirt around him. He cursed, why are all the wind techniques so damn hard? He asked himself, when he remembered something Yujito had told him earlier. It took determination to control the wind, and if he wasn't absolutely determined and acted with conviction, then the wind techniques would go as he wished them to go. An idea popped into the genin's mind, he grinned. That's enough of Yujito, Kurabi said, as his blonde student dropped to her knees. You've trained over 18 hours with only 2 hours of sleep in between. One more time, sensei, Yujito wheezed, whipping sweat off her forehead. I can do this, she said, going through hand seals and holding out her hand, shouting, right done. Raikyu! A silver-gray ball formed into her hand, cackling with lightning. Yujito took a deep breath, closing her eyes for 10 seconds, breathing in and out, and then snapped them open and charged at the tree 30 yards from her and slammed her fist in it. Tree instantly shattered into a million pieces, exploding from the inside. The blast sent her flying to a tree head first, but Kurabi appeared and caught her in his muscular arms. Thanks, Yujito managed to whisper before falling asleep. Kurabi sighed, turning around and heading to the camp where he would put Yujito down in her tent to sleep. Naruto, channeling chakra to his hands as he waved them through the air, collecting pockets of air, charged at a boulder he found. He pushed all his hand in front of him, shouting, Futon Daitapa! Sure enough, it had the desired effect. The wind blew violently, picking up the boulder slightly bigger than Naruto, but much heavier, and threw it away. Yeah! Naruto shouted, take that, bitch! He pointed at the boulder as it flew through the air and landed with a loud thump, sinking inches into the ground. How do you like me now, huh? I think it'll be a little hard for a boulder to actually like you. Naruto turned around to see Emiko walking to him, rubbing her eye. He smiled, hey, you're up. And so are you, Emiko said, her tone slightly reprimanding, you should get some more sleep in. Naruto shook his head, picking up the scroll for the last technique he would learn for the day. No need, I only need a few hours sleep to replenish my chakra. He opened the scroll and began reading. Futon Shippushurin. The Hurricane Drill Technique. Naruto skipped to the details and nodded, understanding the concept of it instantly and standing up. He was slightly put off by the rank it was given, but he knew he could do it. If he could master the shadow clone technique in one night, he could master this one too. Determination, determination, he mentally repeated, going through hand seals. I'm going to get them, Hari. Futon. Shippa Shurin no Jutsu. Naruto shouted. Wind was visibly running around his arm, drilling the air in front of him, kicking up dust around him. Ha! I did! He shouted when suddenly the drills around his arms expanded and started to screech as they span incredibly fast, making an FZZZT sound. What the dash? Ah! Jutsu, Shippa Shurin no Jutsu, Hurricane Drill. Ritoro Haku, Naruto, and Imiko. Imiko felt sick, looking at the genin's pitiful form on the ground. His hands were ripped up to the extent she could see bones and flesh. The purple-haired teen felt dizzy, but this wasn't the time to be weak. She ran to the blonde but stopped 10 feet away. Her eyes bulged. She couldn't believe it. His disgustingly wrecked arms were sewing back together seamlessly. Oh my! Imiko fainted just as Naruto stood up, howling in pain. Imiko! Naruto shouted concerned, darting up and catching the girl as she fell down. Hey, wake up! He shouted, come on, wake up! He lightly slapped the purple-haired teen, but she didn't respond. Fuck! He cursed loudly. Why the hell did it go wrong? I was determined, I was ready, he said, laying down the girl gently, as if she were made of glass. Guilt captured his heart. Damn it! Hari rolled over to his right side, the angry frown still on his face. How could I have been so weak? He asked himself. How could I have let myself become so overconfident? He wished he could blame his newfound powers. It was true, the sensational feeling when he tried to sense someone made him feel quite powerful, but he knew deep down that wasn't why he lost. He was overconfident because he had felt the lack of chakra in his samurai opponents, and because of it he had let his guard down. Perhaps if he had concentrated more, he could have sensed Satoru, and he might have been able to get the advantage. He shook his head and leaning to his left. Who are you kidding? He asked himself out loud. There's no way I could have beaten that guy. Hari sat up and reached for the pack of senbons Naruto had placed on nightstand. He threw 3 simultaneously at the wall. His aim was still true, as he pierced each senbon with another. But he knew that wasn't enough. He needed to know a lot more about ninjutsu to stand a chance against guys like Satoru. Hari reached for the small blank pieces of paper on his nightstand Kurabi had brought him yesterday. He knew what they were, but he hadn't tried to find out his elemental affinity. He didn't know why he didn't. Perhaps he felt he didn't deserve to be a shinobi anymore. After all, there was no room in the shinobi world for amateurs, and he had shown just how much of an amateur he was when he fought Satoru. Hari swallowed thickly, taking the paper in his hand. I might as well just get this over with and find out, he thought to himself, channeling chakra through his fingertips into his small, square sheet of paper. Instantly, the paper exploded in a burst of flames. What the fuck? Yujito woke up with a gasp. She immediately noticed she was feverish, and her skin was pale. She didn't need a mirror to know her eyes were slightly red and her lips crusty. Chakra exhaustion, she self-diagnosed as she got up. Such a disgrace. I let myself get carried away again, and now I lost another day of training. Yujito got up out of bed and stumbled outside of her tent to find Kurabi sitting on a log, poking the fire. She noted briefly it seemed to be a team habit. Good, you're up, Kurabi said, throwing Yujito a bottle of water. Get ready, we're leaving in 10 minutes. Leaving where? Yujito asked, taking of the bottle cap and taking a long tug. I can't train in this state. I'm suffering of chakra exhaustion. I know, Kurabi cut her off, which is why it's the perfect moment to continue training you in your Jinchuriki form to use higher level of ninjutsu. Yujito showed him a rare smile. Give me 2 minutes, she told him, getting back into her tent to get equipment. Naruto cursed loudly, walking in circles around the unconscious form of Imiko. What am I going to tell her? If I tell her the same bullshit I told Hari, I know she's going to prod the team about it, and they can't know she knows. If anyone were to discover he was a Jinchuriki, Naruto would have to kill them. That was one of the conditions when he was enrolled into training. Kuma would take him in, fund his training to control his Biju powers, but it was a top-secret project and anyone who found out had to put down as a matter of national security. As far Naruto knew, the shinobi world was under the belief Kuma had only one Jinchuriki, thus Naruto and Yujito were secret weapons under construction. There would be a pair of big targets if the other villages found out. They would be threatened and would seek to destabilize Kumo's military power through assassinating or abduction their Jinchuriki. Naruto didn't mind being restricted to use his own powers. In fact, he was happy about it. The blonde hated his Biju more than anything in the world. He had met the beast only once, and even that was a vague memory. The beast was truly menacing, a monster of destruction, and he didn't want to have anything to do with it. It was the reason he was still only capable of using the first Jinchuriki form, even though Yujito could do 1 and Kurabi could do all 8. According to Kurabi, Naruto had been a big pain in the council's ass, since they had thrown so much into his funding and the results were less than impressive in their opinions. But Naruto didn't care. He was fine with using the bastard fox's powers when his own life and those of others depended on it, but he would never use it in a fight he could win with his own strength, no matter what the situation. Oh, Emiko began to wake up with a groan. I have got the most splitting Naruto. She shot up, looking around her. And Naruto? She asked, looking at the blonde in front her. Is that you? Obviously, Naruto said in his usual confident voice. Are you alright? He asked, feigning ignorance. You seem a bit pale. But I just saw you on the ground and your arms were up in pieces. Emiko burst out. How are you okay? Naruto gave her a questioning look. What are you talking about? You just blew yourself up. How? He put up his best surprised face for her. You used a technique I don't know. I just remember seeing you blow yourself up. That's impossible, Naruto lied, taking on a feigned look of concern. Are you alright, Emiko? I just got ready to do my technique when you suddenly fainted. I think it's the fact you haven't eaten for over a day. Yeah, that must be it, Emiko said, sitting down. I need to get something to eat. I'm on it, Naruto said, creating a shadow clone and ordering him to hunt for them. I'll have my clone get us something to eat. He'll be back soon. Yeah, good idea, Emiko said, thanks. Naruto waved it off and turned his back on Emiko and silently sighed, thank goodness. Good, Kurabi praised Yujito, who stood with an aura of blue flame surrounding her with a lightning ball in her hand. Don't let go of your center. Embrace the power you feel now and remember exactly how it feels. Don't shy away. You are in control now. Yujito nodded. I think I can increase the output now, sensei. Go ahead, but be careful. Kurabi warned her. Biju's chakra isn't like human chakra. It's far more potent and can kill anyone around you if you don't know how to control it. Yujito nodded, swallowing the lightning ball in her hand by closing her fist. She closed her eyes, going for a tiny bit more of Biju chakra. She heard Kurabi curse and jump back as suddenly she was flaring vividly with blue flames. Calm down, Yujito. Relax. The blonde kunoichi took a deep breath and exhaled softly. Her chakra diminished dramatically. She felt the power rush through her veins. She raised her right hand and aimed it on a tree, concentrating lightning chakra to her palm. Instantly, a thick beam of lightning shot off and evaporated half the tree. The beam shot further, destroying half a dozen more trees in the same fashion. Bravo! Kurabi said, clapping. I didn't expect you to enhance your lightning chakra manipulation with your Biju's chakra. Very resourceful. Yujito breathed in and out a couple more times and eventually, the Biju's power resided back into her seal. That was amazing, Yujito panted, dropping to her knees. I didn't know I could apply Biju chakra to elemental manipulation. There's a lot you don't know, but that's all for today, Kurabi said firmly, getting off the log. You're going back to bed and I'll wake you up, let's say 15 hours from now. By then, you should be fully replenished and rested. Fine, Yujito said, slightly grumpy, but she followed her teacher nonetheless. Kurabi closed the tent behind him, leaving a dozen of clones to guard her as she slept, and took off to the village to see his other student. Hari opened his eyes, emerging from his sleep, his hands instantly reaching for the pack of senbons on his nightstand. So even in your sleep your sensory skills are working, Kurabi said as his student rubbed his eyes and looked at him. Quite impressive. Thanks, Hari said bitterly. No need to be bitter about it, your sensory skills exceed mine already and I've had it since I was 17, which is 10 years ago. Well, it's not much of a help in battle, is it? Hari asked angrily. It's not like a blast of lightning or a... Are you stupid? Kurabi cut off his student. Not much of a help. He repeated incredulously. In case you haven't noticed, you managed to make an instant deduction of your opponent's weakness and how his technique worked. Your chakra sensory skills go as far as identifying elemental chakra signatures. Well, I want some real jutsu too. You can't expect me to fight guys like that Satoru bastard without a couple of decent jutsu. He was playing with me. Hari shouted. He wasn't even trying and he spared me. Now I just found out I got an extreme high affinity for fire. Just watch. He picked up another sheet of paper and made it explode. That has to mean I can take on Satoru if I have the right jutsu. Kurabi sighed. Impressive affinity. But I know what you're thinking, he said. You feel weak because the only ninjutsu you know are low-level ones, and since you fought and saw what kind of jutsu you'll be facing in the real world, you want more power. You're full of rage because you got beaten, even though your opponent was far more powerful and experienced than you are. Yes. Hari shouted, so why can't you train me? You've been training Naruto and Yujito since they were. Don't even go there, Kurabi said sharply. Don't think for a second I'm playing favorites ever. Understood? Hari instantly regretted his outburst. I'm sorry, sensei. I shouldn't have let out my frustrations on you. You've been nothing but supportive since you became my sensei. That's right, Kurabi said, and as soon as you're better, I'll give you a little scroll I found in the Jonin section of the Jutsu library. Then you'll have something to brag about. Hari grinned, but I'm fine now, sensei. See? Hari asked, getting out of bed. He was indeed looking better. The boiling water marks were still there, but much lighter of color. The slash across his chest was wrapped in fresh bandage, but it seemed healthy enough, and the cut under Hari's left eye was stitched up. Only his left shoulder remained an unhealthy bluish color. Your shoulder is fine, Hari cut off his sensei. It hurts a little with excessive movement, but I'm right-handed anyway and everything is achieved with pain, right? Damn it, Kurabi said, chuckling, when it comes to new jutsu, there's no stopping you guys, huh? No chance in hell, Hari shot back fiercely, his onyx eyes glinting with that twisted smile he and Naruto used to do during a good sparring match. Kurabi got up from his seat. Alright, get dressed and meet me outside in 2 minutes. Dress warm. This is so hot, Hari complained, pulling at his navy blue turtleneck sweater. The brown-haired teenager wore black cargo trousers, a new pair of black combat boots and a black, long-sleeved jacket. His sensei wasn't kidding when he told him to dress warm, having bought the teen a new set of clothes from the shabby markets. It's good for your rehabilitation, Kurabi said, not stop whining and follow me. He ran to the far east side of the village into the forest, and took the trees. Hari, although sluggish, not far behind. He led his student into a clearing, not far the village, and stopped, turning around. Kurabi fished a thick red scroll from his default pouch and handed it to Hari, who took it. There's only a few techniques in that scroll, Kurabi said, but they're extremely powerful, especially if you use them right. They're that strong? Hari asked. Yes, Kurabi said with a nod, and don't rip the scroll, I happened to borrow this from the Jutsu library. I was going to use the theories behind the fire-based jutsu for an original lightning-based jutsu. Hari grinned, albeit nervously. He didn't expect to get what he wanted so easily, and now that he was about to learn these techniques, he felt more intimidated than ever. Sensei, how do I control the fire? There are theories surrounding it that one must draw on his anger to. Those theories are bullshit with only an ounce of truth to back them up, Kurabi immediately said. It's true you can strengthen your elemental techniques by fueling them with emotions, but you don't have to use rage to get stronger fire techniques or have a ridiculous stubborn way of thinking to get stronger wind jutsu. Yujito believes the theory is true when it's about lightning techniques, but I didn't burst her bubble because she needs that theory to be good at what she is. Alright, I think I'm ready. Good, I'll be back to check on you in an hour. Wait, you're letting me do this alone? Hari asked, isn't that a bit dangerous? You'll eventually learn that discovering things for yourself is better than having your teacher tell it to you, Kurabi said, walking away. This is the time for you to start thinking on your own. Don't see this as another training exercise. See this as a calling. You need to want to learn and you need to want to do this by yourself. It's the only way a shinobi truly develops into something great. You think I can become someone great? Hari shouted to his teacher. Kurabi held up his hand and said, I know you can, and instantly disappeared, leaving Hari alone. The genin grinned fiercely, the insane glint of excitement in his eyes once more. It was time to change for him, to change for the better. It was time for him to develop to the next level. Naruto sat down, reading his scroll for the 10th time. Why did it go wrong? Why did the technique backfire on him so violently? He had it under control for less than 3 seconds when it went wrong. What did go wrong? Naruto asked himself. I was determined to succeed. I was determined to do the jutsu. Okay, he took a deep breath and summoned chakra. I know I can do this. I just have to stop being afraid. Speaking to yourself isn't really a good sign, Imiko said cheekily, leaning against a tree, finishing up the last of her fish. Naruto ignored her. Futon. Shippa Shurin no Jutsu. He shouted. Instantly, wind gushed around his arms, the visible drills forming. They were smaller than last time. Alright, control yourself, Naruto. Be determined, not overconfident. Relax and focus. The hurricane drills screeched, and Naruto closed his eyes. I can do this. He rushed, running at a big boulder, the size of a small hut. Naruto jumped into the air, aimed his drills at the boulder, and shot straight at his at breakneck speed. Bang! Ah! He shouted in pain, landing on his back. You did it! Emiko said, jumping up and clapping her hands. You did it! Naruto? Are you? I'm fine, Naruto said, instantly recognizing the concern in her voice as he climbed to his feet. I'm fine, he repeated. Really? What's up with you? Emiko asked, slightly put off by his lack of excitement. I thought you would be jumping around, all happy-go like last time. Naruto frowned. I haven't come close to mastering the technique, he said. Last time I was overconfident, and I allowed my chakra control to falter. I don't even know the full extent of this jutsu's power. Just now, I used as little as I could muster and I coated my arms with chakra. That took maybe 10% of chakra, more probably. That's unacceptable. Last time? Emiko questioned. I thought you went to the bathroom, Naruto quickly lied. Remember like 10 minutes ago? Aha, Emiko said, wondering why she didn't hear such an impact. Anyway, Naruto said, changing the subject, I've got to meditate about this a bit more. Meditate? Emiko said, not believing what he had just said. You? Yeah, Naruto said, slightly indignant, I occasionally meditate. Truth be told, he never would have done if weren't for the fact Kurabi had told him a million times that meditation was good to relax oneself and gain enlightenment. Meditation was a crucial part in his training in controlling his Jinchuriki powers. Katon! Endin! Hari dropped to his knees. The jutsu didn't live up to his expectations. It was supposed to be the size of a fuck's nose. It was supposed to be big, but it came out barely the size of a beach ball. This was his 110th shot at it. Damn it! He yearned for water, cold water. He also wished he could take off the ridiculous amount of clothes wore. Who, in the right mind, would wear a turtleneck while practicing with fire jutsu? Hari pulled himself together and got up. This was a crucial part of his training. He had to be determined, ready, and he needed to use his rage. Rage, he sounded bitter. He knew he was angry deep down, but he couldn't draw on it. Not after what he did to No! Hari shouted. No! He repeated once more. He had successfully shut that out of his mind for years. I want to protect, not harm, Hari decided, and then it hit him. Wait a minute. He remembered Kurabi's words vividly, as if the Jonin was saying it to him now. Those theories are bullshit with only an ounce of truth to back them up. Yeah, Hari said to himself, his hand going through hand seals. I don't need to be angry to be good at what I am. I just need to believe I know that I can do it. I need to have something that keeps me true to myself. And then a something his heart and mind spoke up. He wanted to protect those close to him. Hari molded chakra into his lungs. He wanted to be there for those he loved, unlike that bastard. Hari smiled, ending his array of hand seals and landing on the tiger hand seal. He shouted, as loud as his lungs permitted him, Katon! Endin! An enormous blast of fire escaped his mouth, taking the form of a small house. Hari managed to maintain its enormous form for less than 10 seconds, when it grew smaller and eventually disappeared completely. Hari dropped to his knees, chuckling, despite his throat being dry, his eyes lazy in exhaustion and his limbs crusty and trembling. Hari's eyes rolled back as he collapsed to the ground. Kurabi dropped out of the tree, walking to his student's unconscious form. He boomed with laughter, You'll go far in our world, Hari. There aren't many with a heart as kind and loyal, or minds as swift and intelligent. Kurabi picked up his student, slinging him over his shoulder. Years from now, people will talk about me being the sensei of the 3 greatest shinobi Kumo ever produced. I can't wait. With another booming chuckle, Kurabi left the clearing, Hari's unconscious form on his shoulder, as he began to make his ridiculous beatboxing sounds. The following morning, Emiko woke up. She yawned, getting up. Her back was slightly sore from leaning against a tree all night. Rubbing the sleep out of her eyes, she noticed Naruto was still in his meditative state, sitting cross-legged in his boxers in the cold stream of the river with his hands in a hand seal of sorts. His breath was deep, his eyes were closed, he seemed at peace. It was as if he was sleeping. Naruto? Emiko asked questioningly. Are you asleep? Naruto did not answer, prompting Emiko to believe he was indeed sleeping. The purple-haired girl closed in on the blonde genin. Naruto? She asked once more. I'm not asleep, Naruto finally said, unmoving. His voice seemed deeper for some reason. Thanks for the quick reply, Emiko said sarcastically. I thought you were asleep. I'm not awake either, Naruto said cryptically. What's that supposed to mean? This time Naruto did not answer. His lips remained slightly apart longer than you would, were he awake. Emiko sat for an hour, occasionally asking questions, which he would answer after a long period of time. I'm ready, Naruto suddenly said. I can do the jutsu. Don't you mean you can do the jutsu now? No, Naruto said firmly, standing up. I have discovered something. What? I'll tell you later, but for now, just get out of the way. Emiko quickly did so. There was something about Naruto. He spoke with conviction, as if he knew he was right. As it was just a fact. She gulped, seeing the blonde swiftly going through hand seals, his hands blurry. Futon. Shippa Shurin no Jutsu, Naruto said loudly. Instantly, the drills of wind appeared around his arms, far thicker and screeching much louder than they did the previous day. Naruto set his eyes on a patch of trees, grown close to each other. His face was impassive as Yujito's right now. He didn't take a deep breath as he did before. He took a stance and instantly burst forwards, pushing his legs to the limit, without the use of chakra. The trees obliterated in front of Emiko's eyes. Naruto didn't see the effect. He was standing with his back facing the trees, which were completely pulverized, broken down to wood dust and tiny pieces. Naruto was not done yet, ignoring Emiko's happy squeal as she clapped. The blonde genin turned to a boulder that was sticking out by at least 10 feet above the foot-high water of the river mouth they were. He set his eyes on it, his face impassive still, and darted off. He jumped high into the air, the drills as big as they were moments before. He pierced the thick boulder with both drills of wind. It instantly shattered with a loud crack. Naruto gracefully used the blast to backflip and land in a crouch, his arms spread as the drills instantly disappeared. That was amazing! Emiko shouted, how come you had such control? Naruto stood up, taking on a stupid heroic pose, rubbing his finger under his nose. Meditation. Meditation? Right, Emiko said. Naruto grinned stupidly, when he fell backwards, landing in an ungraceful heap, instantly asleep. Emiko sighed, a crooked smile on her face. Idiot. Satoru stopped his stride, as he walked through the forest. It was early and the sun was rising, casting the sky in a lovely shade of orange and blue with but a few clouds. The swordsman stopped mid-stride and his hand instantly shooting for the hilt of his sword. Come out, Takizo, I can smell your stench. Clang! Satoru's blade stalemated with another, and he looked into the fierce brown eyes of Takizo, who grinned madly. Hello, Satoru team, Takizo's brownish-red blade glinted in the light of the sun rising. I heard you gave some of my men some trouble. Satoru scoffed arrogantly with a mirthless, though provocative smile. Your men resemble you. They are nothing but overconfident amateurs. I felt obliged to rectify that. Takizo growled, and applied more pressure behind his blade. He howled, cutting through Satoru's blade and cutting him deeply in his right shoulder. Satoru smiled, suddenly dropping down, revealing to be an ice clone, leaving a thick cover of ice on Takizo's blade which began to grow, encasing the blade in more ice. Steel as cold as ice touched Takizo's neck, his beard turned white with ice. Humph, Takizo grunted, shifting his head, seeing Satoru's back turned to him, and his pale hand holding the blade to his neck. He could practically feel him smirk. Not bad, when did you make the clone? The second I smelled your disgusting stench, Satoru said, raising his blade and sheathing it in his scabbard. You should take a shower. Takizo grunted again as his blade broke down from its solid fur to sand grains. And you should get laid once in a while, the brutish samurai grunted back and his blade grew back to its original size. Look at what you did to poor Kuma-chan. You should not challenge me again. Who knows, my blade may slip and slit your throat. Perhaps you think too highly of yourself, Takizo challenged. I cannot wait till the day this is over. I shall strike you down with nothing but pleasure. I would love to see you try, scum. Satoru growled, as Takizo sank into the earth of the forest, a smile that went unseen on his face. Fool, he said to no one in particular as he continued his stride. Ritora Haku. Takashi Takizo was a proud man, living by the samurai honor code ever since he could remember. His bushido was simple and of a few choice words, but he lived by it strictly, and thus never laid hands on women, children, and generally the defenseless, though there were exceptions to this. Takashi was born as Yamakin Takizo, but had changed his surname when he became of age as he felt his clan had degenerated to the point he could not consider them civilized warriors. At age 45, Takizo was unmarried and had only a very few select people he called a friend. Takizo was not a horrible man. In fact, those that knew him saw him as a man of honor and respect. He considered himself to be powerful, being proficient with earth jutsu like the rest of his clan. Samurai and other non-shinobis did not refer to jutsu as ninjutsu, that was simply shinobi arrogance. No, in the real world they referred to it as sashijutsu, the art of manipulating the elements. Apart from his skill in Sashijutsu, Takizo was a master of the blade and wielded his Kaioseiken, Tsuchi-kuma, with grace. He had spent many years being a wandering samurai, learning under notable figures such as Torimaru, the blade master of the East, and Kendo, the legendary smith that traveled in the South. It would be an understatement to say Takashi Takizo was a man of power. Unlike shinobi and quite a few samurai, Takizo did not believe in fighting without emotion, this being evident in his behavior towards fellow Kaioseiken holder, Satoru. That man was the only one that could anger him with just his presence. It was not that Takizo was jealous of Satoru for being a shade more powerful, it was the way the white-haired warrior, as he was not a samurai, carried himself. Satoru wielded a Kaioseiken, and it was powerful one, powerful enough to challenge his own, and thus a rivalry had begun between the two of them. Fucking brat, Takizo voiced his displeasure and unclasped his drinking flask and took a sip of his sake. It was bitter and cold, exactly how he liked it. Get back to work. Break's over. Takizo barked to his men, who were on a break, back into the submachines or whatever you fucking call them. We have to have checked every inch of the river by tonight. Yes, sir. Their voices rang. Fucking amateurs, Takizo grumbled, kicking one of the younger laborers behind. Takizo looked to the commotion on his left, where a submarine had emerged. What's going on? Get back to work, he barked. I found something, one of the samurais shouted. I think they're the remains of Toshiro no Shiroi and Yamaken Kuma. What? TL. Kaioseiken translates to Great Sword and Tsuchi Kuma translates to Earth Bear and Sashijutsu translates to Elemental Techniques. You know, Emiko said, breathing heavily as she supported the sleeping Naruto's weight on her back. For a skinny boy, you're heavy. Emiko blushed lightly. This wasn't the kind of way a girl should take a boy home. Naruto's legs were circled around her waist and his hands dangled over her shoulder, far too close to her chest. You up yet? Naruto didn't respond. He had been sleeping for nearly 30 minutes. Emiko doubted he'd wake up before the sun went down. Definitely not with all the training and lack of sleep he suffered. Still, Emiko thought, you gotta admire his determination. They arrived at Naruto's camp 10 minutes later. Emiko dropped the blonde unceremoniously. Her back was aching, but she pressed on. She unzipped a tent which she knew to be Naruto's as his name was printed on it. She awkwardly dragged the boy inside, and laid him out on his sleeping bag and quickly left the tent. What are you doing? Yujito rasped at the sight of Emiko. She had a kunai blade in her hand and looked extremely pale and sweaty, telltale signs of chakra exhaustion. Emiko stumbled over words at the sight of the small blade. I was bringing Naruto back. He kind of collapsed on me. How is he? Yujito asked. He's fine, I think. Just tired. Yujito nodded. I should go back to bed. You should get some rest too. You look fatigued. Yeah, I'll do that, Emiko said nervously. There was something about Yujito that unnerved her. She turned on her heels and made her way to the village, longing for something soft to lay her back on. Seiichi growled, the echo carrying it away throughout the tomb. He could practically smell the fear rolling of his elite samurai guards. This was taking far too long. He needed the damn submarine troops to find the blades and quick. His time was running out. That snake bastard, Orochimaru, was making moves, and furthermore, he had 3 Jinchuriki missing with his plans. He doubted the boy and girl would be much of threat, but the older one, Yatsuki Karabi, was different. He knew that he couldn't take on the Jonin without the power of his Biju, let alone with it. He cursed those fools for sending this monster to the village. Seiichi took comfort in the fact backup would never arrive. Not with those idiots of Kyumo in his pockets. But nonetheless, he needed those swords. He needed to find out the secret of the legendary swords. Kaioseiken were not nothing compared to the Shinken. Despite the obvious power Kaioseiken displayed, it was nowhere near the destructive power of the Shinken. Brother, Shinji called, entering the room, wearing his black battle kimono and equally pitch black haori with blood-red kanjis on it that said Illusionist Demon on the back of haori. Seiichi growled at his younger brother's insolence as he greeted with his overcheery, obnoxious voice. Has my disease made me unworthy of a respectful bow, my younger brother? The question was rhetorical. Catching on quickly, Shinji did a deep, gracious bow. No, Seiichi-sama, of course not, he said. I just came here to inform you Takizo's team found the remains. What? Seiichi growled. When? 10 minutes ago. Fetch me my robe. Seiichi barked at one of the servants. This is going to be good, he said with a dark chuckle, allowing his servant to drape him in the robe. Of course, Shinji said, the stupid smile plastered on his face, with his always slit eyes perched, glinting the black orbs beneath his eyelids. We are, after all, the Akumu Shoko. TL, Shiken translates to legendary blade. Naruto woke up with a dry cough. His lips were crusted and his throat was dry. He needed water, and a lot of it. Stumbling out of the tent, Naruto grabbed a bottle of water from his backpack and began drinking it. She brought you here, Yujito said, making her presence known. Naruto resisted the urge to jump. How was it that she always sneaked up on him? He turned to Yujito. What? He asked. That villager, Imiko is her name, I believe, she brought you here, in case you forgot. Oh, the blonde resisted the urge to blush. Getting carried home by a girl wasn't exactly cool. Yeah, well, yeah, he cut himself off and sat down on a branch opposite of Yujito. About last time. We don't need to talk about this, Yujito sharply cut off, that was 2 days ago. It is in the past. Naruto sighed, picking up a stick and began poking the fire. You don't have to get offended, he said, I know what you were thinking about. Oh really? You know what I was thinking about? Yujito snapped sarcastically, then tell me what I was thinking about, Uzumaki. He looked her sharply in the eye as she spat out his name as if for venom. You're remembering it, aren't you? What? You're remembering what happened when you went crazy last time you used Nibi's powers, right? Yujito swallowed thickly. She didn't expect him to get so close to the real answer. I know, because it happens to me and, even though he doesn't admit it, Karabi too, he said. Karabi never told me what happened when he was a kid, but I can guess it wasn't pretty. The same goes for the both of us. We should be happy we found a place we belong in Kumo. Yujito stood up. Just shut your mouth, Uzumaki. You speak of that you have no idea of. Naruto didn't reply, choosing to poke the fire with his stick. He didn't care what she thought of him. She was a bitch in every sense of the word, and only reason he would ever talk to her was because of her status as a Jinchuriki. Naruto got up, cursing the blonde kunoichi as he entered his tent. He quickly fell asleep. Hari was in bed, sitting up straight and going through hand seals of the next jutsu he was going to learn. He was quite pleased with himself. Learning jutsu was the best way to get rid of depression. He couldn't believe how powerful his enden had been. The brown-haired Kumogakure genin looked at the scratched clock hanging in his room. It was 6, meaning he could still get some practice in. With a juvenile grin, Hari jumped out of bed, chuckling darkly as he pulled on his socks and boots, as though he was committing an unspeakable crime. Going somewhere? Hari nearly jumped out of his skin. Ehehe, he nervously chuckling, turning to Karabi, hanging upside down from the roof, his muscular arms crossed. Just getting some sleep. Karabi chuckled as Hari sighed in defeat, taking off his boots and socks. You can't push yourself too much if you want to get back to proper training. I know, Hari let himself drop on his bed with a groan. This just sucks so bad. Well, then you shouldn't have gotten your ass kicked, huh? Karabi said, booming with laughter. Hari rolled his eyes. Whatever. I get the message, I'll go to bed now. You better, cause I'm just a clone, so I can stay here as long as needed. You really think I'll betray your trust? Hari asked, feigning hurt. Yep, Karabi's clone deadpanned. Damn it. In an underground cavern, the Akumu Shoko made their way to a tomb much smaller than their own. Seiichi growled. He did not like to leave his chamber, but this was for a good reason. Shinji walked behind his older brother, his never-ending smile on his face. They arrived in a small open area where many samurai stood in neat rows. None of them faced the brothers directly, standing with straight backs, their hands on their hilts. Seiichi growled for no particular reason, approaching Takizo, who bowed in greeting and turned around. Show me, Seiichi demanded, ignoring Takizo's boisterous grin, show me the remains of Toshiro no Shiroi and Yamakin. Immediately, my masters, Takizo said, as they neared a table constructed of earth. The table had a white cloth on it, made of soft fabric. On top of the cloth there were 2 pair bones neatly separated, and in 2 separate vats were 2 brains. There are the remains of the blade masters you sought. My great-grandfather Yamakin Kuma and his opponent in honorable battle, Toshiro no Shiroi. What of the blades? Seiichi growled, the blades are what are really important. Takashi Takizo bit back the urge to violently lash out. How dare this man mock his legendary great-grandfather? I apologize, my master, the remains were all that we found. It is possible the blades drifted onwards to the sea or made its way to another river by the river mouths. Seiichi's black orbs glared into those of Takizo, who, due to his samurai pride, neither flinched nor looked away. The Nightmare Lord grinned menacingly. Have your men immediately check Ritorahaka's river. It is the closest. Do not engage any enemy unless you're attacked first, or they interfere. You're in charge till we're finished here. Satoru shall join you in the battle, you know how to get a hold of him. As you wish, Takizo said, bowing deeply once more and making his way out of the cavern. Mount up! Takizo shouted. His samurai warriors instantly followed him. Seiichi waited several minutes till the sound of horses trampling the earth vanished. Shinji, Seiichi said, you know what to do? Of course, Nisama, Shinji said, his hands going through an extremely long array of 280th hand seals and dipped his hands in both vats. Chakra strings latched on the brains. Ninpo Hijitsu. Jigaku. Omoid no Shur no Jutsu. Seishi grabbed his younger brother's shoulder, and within a split second, their eyes went white. Jutsu, Ninpo Hijitsu. Jigaku. Omoid no Shur no Jutsu. Hidden ninja arts. Time reversal. Memories of the deceased. The following day, Naruto woke up with a content groan. He felt so refreshed as he got out of sleeping bag and exiting his tent. A screeching sound caught his attention. Naruto found Yujito about 50 yards from the camp, crouching and going through an array of hand seals. Raitun! Raikyu no Jutsu! The blonde kunoichi said of at an impressive speed and planted her hand in a thick rock, as if she was poking through butter with a hot knife. The rock instantly shattered. Humph, Naruto scoffed cockily, is that your best technique? Uzumaki, Yujito sneered. It seemed their relationship had shifted back to how it used to be, full of contempt and solid dislike. Care for a morning beat down? Don't flatter yourself, Ni, you're nowhere near my level, Naruto shot back, his sneer equal to Yujito's. Just keep telling yourself that. Whatever makes you sleep, right? I got exactly what you need to get to sleep, a good fist in the face. Yujito growled at Naruto, who stared contemptuously back, before looking away, mentally cursing himself for initiating a staring contest with the Jinchuriki of a demonic cat for the 100th time. Yujito sneered in contempt, finding small pride in the fact she could stare the longest. Care to show me what you learned then, Uzumaki? Yujito asked. Not really. A bitch like you isn't worth the chakra, Naruto shot back. Go fuck yourself. Grinning, Naruto turned on his heels, shoving his hands in his pockets and making his way to river, ignoring the slightly happy feeling in his gut. At least things were getting back to normal, and he had won the first round. Yujito never spoke crudely unless she was royally pissed off. Something he hadn't achieved in a year. Naruto 1, Yujito 0. Futon. Akai Genshuku. The gravity palm strike sped over the river, causing a small divide in the water as it flew across the river. Naruto grinned at his handiwork and took a good look at the river. He had yet to see the entire entity of it. The only bit he had seen was the part closest to his camp. Naruto knew the river was huge though. But Karabi had explicitly forbid them to go farther than where he was now. Katon! Enden no Jutsu. Naruto's instincts kicked in, and he instantly jumped into the air with a chakra-enhanced jump, narrowly avoiding the enormous ball of fire under his feet. He looked down, to the left, seeing someone chuckling. Son of a bitch! Naruto shouted, creating a shadow clone, which spun him in the air and launched him at his attacker. Naruto made impact, head first, knocking his opponent 20 feet back. Hari? Naruto asked, recognizing his teammate holding his head as they both got up. What the hell was that? And what the hell are you doing out of bed? Hari laughed. Sensei gave me this scroll he allegedly borrowed from the library. I've got an kick-ass affinity for fire, you should have seen the one I did yesterday. Hari caught his friend's stern look and chuckled. Don't worry, the frostbite's gone well nearly. So you came here for an ass-kicking, huh? Naruto challenged, his look instantly gone. Don't think I'll hold back just cause you got your ass kicked. It felt like a million years ago since they last sparred. Screw you, Hari said, rolling his eyes, but he chuckled anyway. Let's do this. With a battle cry, the teens attacked each other. Naruto went in for a right hook, which Hari ducked under and tried to counter with a knee in the blonde's ribs, but Naruto caught his left knee, jumped back and spun Hari's leg and let go, sending him flying in a spiral. Hari back-flipped midair and landed in a crouch, kicking up dirt as he skidded. Not bad. Naruto grinned and rushed at Hari, creating two shadow clones. Hari attempted to kick in the incoming blonde, but Naruto slid under his legs, one of the clones jumping on his stretched-out leg and uppercut him with a swift kick as it backflipped, leaving the second clone to bull-charge Hari in the side as he flew. Hari whipped of blood from his lips with the back of his fist. You asked for this. He shouted to Naruto as he went through an array of seals. I've just learned the theory, so keep your smart remarks to yourself if it doesn't work out. Just do it, ya amateur. Hari's black eyes glinted insanely. Amateur? he asked. I'll show you, amateur. He shouted, ending on the 44th hand seal, inhaling and shouting, Katan. Karyoden no Jutsu. Naruto's eyes widened at the enormous blast of fire crashing down on him. Acting on pure instincts, the blonde went through an quick array of seals and shouted, Futon. Detapa no Jutsu. The blasts merged together into a tornado of fire before an explosion sent both teens flying and skidding over the ground as they came to painful stops. Arg! Naruto shouted, holding his arm as it popped back into place. Hari? He shouted, getting up and looking around him. I'm here. Naruto looked up a thick 3 to see Hari lying in a quite pathetic position, groaning in pain. Naruto held his sides in laughter, pointing at his friend, doing a little dance. The situation was just far too comical not to laugh at. You suck, he said. How uncool is that? Go fuck yourself, Hari shot back moodily, shakily getting up and standing on the branch. Unfortunately for him, this just made Naruto laugh even more. Tears started to form at the corner of the blonde's eyes as he fell back, still shaking with laughter. It took a good 5 minutes to get the blonde to stop laughing. You're an idiot, Hari insulted. What kind of shinobi throws a wind jutsu against a fire jutsu? Naruto shrugged. I don't know, but they should do it more often if it gives results like this. The blonde laughed, infuriating Hari, who plopped down in front of the blonde. So, what do we do now? Hari asked. Where's sensei? Who knows? His clone was gone this morning. The two spent the next hour talking about their new techniques and whatever came to their minds. It was good to sit down and just talk once in a while. The sun glowed brightly, the wind was refreshing and soothing. Normally, their days would be filled with training and nonsense missions like saving a cat or running errands for the elderly. Let's go back to camp. I think sensei will be back soon, Hari said, standing up and getting dirt off his pants. Can't you sense him or something? Naruto asked. It doesn't work like that, idiot. Fine, sounds like a lame ability anyway. What? The short walk home was filled with childish banter and insults. When they arrived at camp, Hari's expectations proved to be true. Kirabi was crouched in front of the fire, in the middle of roasting fish. Sensei? Naruto asked, where did you go? Huh? Kirabi stood up, turning to the pair, scratching the back of his head. I was sending another backup request. I don't know why it's taking so long to get a reply. You think someone's taking out the birds you send, Kirabi-sensei? Yujuto asked, whipping away sweat from her forehead and taking a tug from her water bottle. Standard procedure is an immediate reply to all backup requests, correct? Correct, Kirabi confirmed, sitting on one of the logs around the fire. We should have gotten a reply by now. So, what do we do now? Hari asked, sitting on a log and grabbing a fish that seemed ready. We know the Akumu Shoko are no pushovers and they got at least one other strong ally with them that defeated me in seconds. We can't leave the people behind, Naruto immediately said, his eyes glowing fiercely. I say we round up all villagers and get them out of here. There's another village not too far from here, right? What are you saying, Uzumaki? Yujuto said, that's impossible. What are you saying, Ni? Naruto shot back, I can make 1,000 clones and lead them away from here, so what's the problem? How do you plan on moving the ill? They need medicine, water, food, clothes to sum it up. We can't move them, Yujuto said. The kunoichi scoffed when Naruto had nothing to say back. How can you call yourself a shinobi? You're letting your emotions get the better of you. It's pathetic. Kirabi sighed as Naruto growled angrily. She does make a point, Naruto, Kirabi said. Wait. Hari said, this area is full of herbs and other natural medicine. Hari explained, if I can show Naruto which ones to gather, and he makes enough clones, we can get enough for the entire trip. As for food, we can electrocute the river again. That's how we got so many last time, and I bet we can spare some summoning scrolls for supplies. Yeah, Naruto said, turning to his friend with a big smile, we can do this. No, we can't, Yujuto said. Even if we could waste our time on this, it still wouldn't work. Why not? Naruto asked angrily. Why the hell wouldn't you want to help these people? Because it is not our mission to help them, and it is not up to us whether we do this or not. Yujuto shouted at him, losing her patience. Besides, why do you think this is the only village under Kumo's protection? The myth surrounding this village may actually be true. If the legend Kirabi-sensei told us is true, it is only a matter of time the Akumu Shoko make them move. We cannot move these people anywhere since the other villages despise them. Naruto cursed under his breath and turned to Kirabi in the hope his sensei. What do you think, sensei? You're the leader. Well, Kurabi said, rubbing his chin, I know where you're coming from, Naruto, but Yujito makes more sense. It's not that we don't want to help these people, it's that it'll be pointless to lead them to other villages where no one will help them out of spite. Then me and Hari are alone in this one, Naruto shouted, picking up his scrolls and turning around. Hari followed suit, smiling apologetically to Kurabi. What do you think you're doing, Uzumaki? Yujito hissed at him, appearing in front of the pair. Do you have any idea what kind of repercussions your actions will have back in Kumo? Defying and direct. Shut the hell up! Naruto shouted at her. His eyes switched to blood-red slit for an instant as he neared her. Get out of my way or I'll make you. Yujito was not one to be intimidated ever. You think you can make me, Uzumaki? She said, her hand sliding to her kunai holster. Then make your move. Enough! Kurabi bellowed. Yujito, stand down. What? Yujito shouted, unbelieving. You're letting them go after such disrespect and… Enough, Kurabi said so low, Yujito instantly shut up. Their sensei may be an odd one, but he had an enormous amount of patience and self-control, but when he got angry, it was best to do as told. Yes, sensei, Yujito stepped aside, letting Naruto and Hari pass as she glared contemptuously at the blonde genin. As the two left the encampment and got further and further away, Yujito turned back to Kurabi. Why would you let them go? She demanded. Because they would have gone anyway, Kurabi said, turning to the fire with a sigh and grabbing a fish and throwing it to Yujito, who swiftly caught it and sat down opposite of him. So you just let them go? Yujito asked, even though they broke all regulations and… If I stopped Naruto, I might as well have ripped his heart out, Kurabi interrupted, taking a bite of his own fish. What? You heard me, Kurabi said quietly. If there's one thing I know about Naruto, it's that he is compassionate to all forms of life. He can't help but want to help those can't help themselves. He is simply too attuned to the misery around him. Then he is more an inept shinobi than I thought, Yujito said, his beautiful face in a scowl. Is it? Kurabi asked, genuinely interested in what she thought. Shinobi must obey the rules at all times. Personal feelings have no meaning in battle. Is that what you tell yourself at night? Kurabi asked her, an edge of pity to his tone. I know that's not how you truly feel, Yujito. Yujito scoffed. What's that supposed to mean? You know what it means. No, how about you tell me? All right, I will. Kurabi threw his mauled fish aside and looked the blonde in the eye. I know that you're scared to be like Naruto. You hate the thought of being like him, and I don't blame you. You don't want to be vulnerable. But the difference between you and Naruto is that even though he had a miserable past similar to yours, he looks past that to the life he has. He lives in the present time, unlike you who lives in the past and hopes only for the future. You're so young and beautiful yet you don't enjoy life. You have endless potential, just waiting to be used, and so much time just waiting to be spent on a good life. But instead of trying to have a good life and find a goal, you just go on without any objective in your heart. It is as if the mission is all that matters to you. Why do you do this to yourself? Why can't you let go and move on? I wish I… How about you tell me then? Yujito shouted, standing up. How about you tell me why I can't be as good as Naruto? Or how come I am such a monster that I… Kurabi slapped his student, his eyes staring fiercely behind his shades. Do not ever say anything like that again. He shouted at her. You three are like family to me. I would not ever value one over the other. Yujito turned around and ran, biting down the tears and ignoring her teacher's shouts, all the while thinking to herself, I will never be like them. I will ever be weak. This is the end for you, Yamakin. Toshiro no Shiro shouted, his blade held low to his side, a small dragon head forming at the tip of his blade. The legendary warrior stood on one of the earth plateaus Yamakin had created, dressed in pure white battle kimono. His silver-colored hair and eyes glinted in the moonlight. You have been a worthy opponent, my friend. Yamakin, a short, bulky man clad in reddish-brown samurai attire with kanji for Earth Demon and Master of Earth on it, chuckled. He was knelt on the ground below, rubbing his equally reddish-brown beard. You were a worthy opponent, my old friend, he said to Toshiro in his gruff voice. Neither of us will live to fight another day, it seems, Toshiro said, looking down to his own wounds. He had stopped the bleeding by lodging eyes in the wounds, which had started to swell and were no purple of color. The third and final day, for some reason I'm saddened that we will no longer do battle in the land of the living. Yamakin held his bleeding side, counting at least 5 broken ribs. Perhaps we shall find each other in the afterlife, the samurai said, unclasping his flask and taking a long tug from it. Perhaps we shouldn't have done this, Yamakin said, looking around. Where once had been a long patch of earth, There was now carved up islands with ice in the trenches that had started to melt. Toshiro coughed, standing up with his legs shaking. Perhaps, but I prefer a demolished land than civil war taking the lives of thousands. Besides, this battle was inevitable, was it not? Our clans had these feuds for many years, and the civil war would mean the end of both our clans. As clan heads, it was our duty to do battle for the sake of our next generation. You are right, Yamakin agreed, throwing his flask to Toshiro, who drank the last drips before throwing it aside, chuckling at his adversary's last act of mischief. Let's meet in the afterlife once more and continue our battle. Agreed. And then, with an instant, huge spheres of chakra enveloped both warriors. Toshiro raised his silvery blade as his arctic blue chakra sphere channeled into his blade. A dragon head made out of ice sprang from its tip. Yamakin stood up, enveloped in his mud-brown chakra sphere, which grew smaller as he channeled the energy into his brown-red katana. He chuckled with his booming voice as the tip of his blade began to glow, an eerie yellow. He positioned it in front of him, a grin on his bearded face. Toshiro raised his blade and jumped off the earth platform. Bachi no Hiryu! Kajitsum no Hiryu! Yamakin barked a laugh as an enormous icy claw came crushing down on him. Still laughing, he stabbed his blade in the earth and shouted Kago! Tate no Bumi! The earth shook beneath the samurai as an 100-feet-tall female torso made of jade-color rock shot out of the earth, shielding Yamakin from the ice claw. The claw struck, instantly covering the statue's torso in more ice before it stopped spreading. Toshiro sighed, landing in a heap, his chakra drained. Who knew I would die at the ripe age of 58? Ha ha! Yamakin barked as he stumbled over to one of the deep trenches. It's time for the next generation to take over. With that, the legendary samurai's eyes rolled behind his head and he fell forward, his blade dropping out of his loose hold. See you in the afterlife, friend, Toshiro said tiredly as he turned around, knowing full well that his body was about to give out. But he had to see her once more before he died. He needed to pass on the message. Their clans would do battle no longer. The land of sun would know peace. Seiichi's eyes returned back to their normal black orbs. His younger brother followed soon. Seiichi laughed, his raspy voice filled with utter glee. Come, brother, he said, turning around, we must collect the swords of legends. Shinji gasped. Sure thing, he said, whipping sweat off his forehead from holding on to the jutsu for so many hours. He gave himself only a split second before following his older brother, as he left the tomb. All right, keep on moving, Naruto shouted, standing on top of a roof as his clones helped the sick and injured out of their houses. The sun was going down and there was a soft, pleasant breeze in the air. We got to get going. They had just started moving the villagers. Groups of clones were gathering herbs and food and water. They had to make haste, this was but the calm before the storm. The villagers had been scared at first, when Naruto and Hari broke in the news to them. They were terrified with the thought of the Akumu Shoko returning to finish the job. Luckily, however, with the help of the village's militia leader, Kenji, they managed to pull themselves together and prepare for their evacuation. Hari helped Kenji organize the villagers in a long row, whilst another 30 clones were helping the sick in carriages. Fortunately enough, those weren't destroyed during the raid. The merchant village Ritorohaka had plenty of carriages they could make use of. The only problem was that the majority of the cattle were already dead, having been either slain in the attack or used as sustenance afterwards. There were 6 bulls left and there were 12 large carriages filled with the sick in the hold. They were draped by heavy blankets and laid on hay. It was truly fortunate Naruto was able to create a great many clones. Naruto, Hari shouted, demanding the blonde's attention, these guys are ready to go. Got ya, Naruto shouted back. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. With collective poofs, clones burst into existence, and immediately approached the carriages. Don't slack of ya here? Naruto shouted at his doppelganger, shaking a fist at them. Children giggled at the sight of clones sticking their tongue out at the original, while saying, yeah, whatever, tough guy. And we'll do the job better than you could anyway. Naruto jumped of the house and approached an old woman sitting on the grass, already tired. Here, old lady, let me help you out there. With ease, the blonde picked up the fragile, elderly woman and helped her into a carriage. Naruto went red with the praise and gratitude of the villagers and got back to work, helping the remnants of the village militia with loading the cargo carriages with supplies. Hari channeled Katon chakra to his throat and spat out a small burst of fire, using the principles behind his Enden no Jutsu on a smaller scale and setting 2 torches aflame with fairly large fireballs. Hari placed them on the grips attached to the front of the carries. That is so cool, a little girl said, holding on to Hari's leg, making the genin smile embarrassedly. Yeah, the rest of the village children shouted, jumping up and down enthusiastically. Do it again, Ni-chan, they chanted. Naruto pouted, slightly envious of Hari, who spat a few more balls of fire, making the children giggle and scream in delight. The blonde returned his focus back to the task at hand and heaved a heavy box with the use of chakra in his arms and carried it to one of the heavy-duty looking carriages, designed for a big shipment. This is gonna break my back, Naruto grumbled, massaging his neck before getting back to work. Alright, guys, this one can go to the front, it's all loaded. The blonde told the villagers that helped him load the carriages as he closed the door on it. As the blonde turned around, he was met with the sight of a group of clones carrying bags with all kinds of leaves and herbs in them. Good job, guys! Naruto shouted at his clones with thumbs up. Separate them in equal quantities with the carriages and then help out Hari, alright? Sure thing, boss. His clones replied simultaneously and doing as they were told. Uzumaki-san, Kenji said, approaching Naruto with the village leader, Hattori. Uzumaki-san, Kenji repeated, motioning to Hattori. Hattori-sama